Hello and welcome to DCP Live, episode number 172. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I was waiting for the audience response. They're like,
That's right.
Tonight
I'm
is
traumatized by Pope's microphone, to be honest.
yeah. Tonight apparently has massive
Listen to
delay in
Dave's.
Discord, maybe something.
Is it? Does it have a bad delay?
No, I don't think so. I think you guys were just super tentative to jump in. I was like, welcome. Let's do this.
so wait,
So-
where's Watts? She's out tonight, right?
That's
Watts.
right. Her cat had plastic surgery. Nice little facelift.
Oh,
Yeah, a kitty lift.
Nice.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
so
So-
she's got to keep an eye on the fam, basically.
Yes,
She won't be here, but we got two amazing guests.
absolutely. Yeah. Triple and TrueVanguard. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hi.
Uh,
I was like, who goes Good to be first? here. I don't know.
Hey
Yes.
guys. Welcome back to the show, guys. Obviously, you've both been on DCP before, and we've chatted it up about, Destiny things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, normally on this podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Known to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and officially, right, tripleWRECK is the guest. We announced that originally ahead of time, and then, actually, Pope had the idea, I believe. But
That's a double feature. Even
yeah,
better.
but well, basically, we're like, man, we're going to probably get into PvP. Who could we have on for that as well? And TV, TrueVanguard's been on the show before.
There you go.
Yeah. It's funny. He basically just said he didn't want Ari in an echo chamber talking about PvP to nobody
Yeah.
who understands anything about PvP.
It's not healthy.
so-
It's not healthy.
That
Tev-
sounds right. That sounds right.
Puts a lot of time in as a warlock out there in PvP.
That's
so,
true. Accomplished.
You know,
warlock.
I used to
He's
tune
good.
into Briar's PvP streams back in the heat. Yeah.
Really?
He's not bad at PvP. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
It's true.
It's not true. That is false.
I haven't touched Warlock in months. Last time I touched my Warlock was when the Festival of the Lost was going on. So just want to point
See-
that out. All right.
You have not played with the new top tree changes then?
No.
Huh.
I'm not a filthy Warlock. People want to say I'm
I
a
think-
filthy Warlock.
Ooh.
I think that was a live judging by TV right there. You just
Okay.
Huh.
Yes.
Dude, I'm sick of rounding the corner and getting like these purple grapes in my face because you're just holding a button. Like I'm not about that life. All right.
You can turn off handheld supernova matchmaking to
Oh,
avoid
they
those
added
loppies.
that.
Yeah.
oh,
right.
that's nice.
Finally.
How do you do that? Go to Stadia?
Yeah.
Stadia's the answer for you're trying to escape anything. Just go to Stadia.
It's all new light players. They haven't unlocked that subclass yet. You're fine.
Perfect.
That's great. Yo, before we dig into actual PvP topics and all that, Triple,
Yeah.
we should catch up. I mean, a lot has changed in your life recently, right?
For sure.
That's true. It's true. I moved to Dallas, Texas, around September, and so it's just like
Where'd you move
many
from?
months. So I've been in the Seattle area for probably about 3 years
Nice.
until then, and I miss a lot of it, to be perfectly honest, because we had Watts, we have Dado. Dado was actually lived in my apartment building on the same floor. He was just right down the hallway.
Nice.
So he was my neighbor for a long time, and
What's the
Yeah,
address of
so-
that apartment building?
I can give it to you now. There's no one there.
Yeah, what does he get?
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of great times. I still have some friends out there. Obviously, there's still some restaurants that I miss dearly.
Ooh, yeah.
There's this Thai restaurant that I used to order from all the time that I like. I've tried different Thai places here and there, and nothing really quite has the
It's
same
always the Thai
magic.
place,
So,
right?
but
She got
What?
tacos now.
That's
now,
true, right?
yeah, we have all the tacos, all the
Queso.
barbecue, and then just everything else because it's a major city. Well, so I'm really digging it here. It's definitely on the warmer side, but it's a dry heat, so it's not that crazy humidity, which I have trouble when we go down to Guardian Con
Same.
in July.
Yeah, same. The swamp ass kills me, man.
I don't know how people do this, but
Your hair gets all curly and frizzy too,
yeah,
as last I saw.
yeah.
right?
Like going to
Yeah, well,
Florida
that's-
in the middle of the winter, not a bad deal. Going there in summer is to be avoided.
That's what I'm
at
saying.
all
It's
costs.
like, yeah, let's have it in December. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds
You
smart.
step off the plane, you just get hit with that heat, and you're like, "What is this? Holy
I
crap!"
love
Hits you
the
in the
hot weather.
face. Yeah.
What prompted the move to Texas?
It was a lot of things. One of them was, I joined Team Envy last year, which was a really exciting thing to join an org. They are based in Dallas, so it wasn't like a requirement, but I figured it would be really helpful to be able to be closer to where they're based, their headquarters, and being able to collaborate with them. We just did this short 2-part documentary thing that we filmed out here, which was like really fun, and it's kind of cool things like that you would have harder time doing if you weren't like in the same area.
Yeah.
Sure.
Certainly it made more sense for me from a financial point of view because I was looking to get a house because I've just been renting apartments for so long, and the property prices down here were really attractive. It was like, hey, I can live in a giant house with enough space to actually breathe, for the same amount of money as having like this sort of smaller 2-bedroom apartment, which was really nice, which I miss. But having that space was really nice, being able to expand. And then, looking toward the future, I mean, my family's still out in upstate New York, and they've been thinking of moving. And I was trying to think someplace was a little more central and a little bit more affordable. And so, it's like it's a bunch of different little things kind of all lined up. And so far, I've been really happy.
That's great, man.
What's it? What do you do as part of Envy? Like, what's that entail?
So I'm a content creator for Envy, right? So I just basically do the same stuff that I've always done, but I get to be, within this umbrella, and they offer a lot of support to go along with that. And lots of cool opportunities. I got to go to PAX West on their behalf because they were doing this collaboration with the U.S. Army, where they were having some of their players and streamers play with these U.S. Army guys, and we were like playing Apex on the stage and stuff like that. So it's a lot of things that'd be kind of harder to swing on your own, but when you have all the resources and connections of these big orgs, it really helps. It's just like, I guess it's sort of everyone's dream, I think, a little bit to join a team like that. And the cool thing about a lot of these orgs is that they've recognized the popularity and the value of content creation, not just like the esports side. And like traditionally it was just like, all right, we're gonna have pro teams, we're gonna do tournaments, we're gonna win, and that's great, and obviously that'll always be a thing. But at the same time, it's like, hey, you can bring on established creators which have their own audience, they already have made a name for themselves, and then it's just like this easy symbiotic relationship that just hits the ground running. So it's cool to see, because like Crafty joined TSM, and you had Sir D on 100T for a while, so it's like it's definitely inspirational, and so far so good.
It's great.
It's been really cool to see how the organizations have really sort of evolved over the course of just the last couple of years, and doing exactly what you're talking about. And it's interesting, you see the ones that fall off are the ones that didn't really evolve the way that some of these other ones have. So it's really cool that they value you as a content creator.
Yeah, it's been it's one of those things where like they reach out and it's like, wait, am I getting like punked or something? Am I getting trolled? Because like I remember like watching Team Envy and these guys like play COD tournaments, like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
and being a fan. So it's pretty surreal, but very grateful.
It's really cool.
It's awesome, man. Congrats on all that.
Didn't you also start working on a computer company too?
Yeah,
right?
I started a little PC company called Evolve PCs, and I think you guys have done an ad reader too for us already, which
I wanted to naturally bring it up.
Yeah,
I don't want to be like, hey, we've also done an ad for Evolve PC, which you're involved with.
Right. And it's funny because like Yeah, when I was growing up, my dad was really into computers, right? And he taught me how to build a computer from scratch with him. You know, I was like 8 or 9 years old, and especially because I was so big into Legos and like Technics and all that stuff, it was like, oh wow, this is even more amazing because I'm making this. And computers, you know, 20 years ago, definitely more of like a kind of like a magical thing than it is today. It's so part of our daily lives, but computers, to be able to build one is just a fascinating thing for me. And I've kind of carried that through the years, and it just reached the point where it's like, hey, I have a skill that I think, you know, might be able to do something with. And I had a couple friends who were also interested, and we talked about it. And it's been, I think, about 4 months since we got things going, and it's just been amazing.
That's awesome, man.
We've actually had to shut the site down at times because we were getting so many orders that it's like we can't even fulfill them. So it's like, you know, it's trying to pace ourselves and trying to grow this, and try to take each step one at a time and do it right. But it's really like a passion project, but it's also turning out to be a bigger hit than I thought. So
That's really cool, man.
Thank you. Some of your audience has bought PCs from us, so thank you.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say one more thing on top of that too is I think TV. You asked him, sort of like what he was playing lately, and I thought the response to that was good. It was in the pre-show, but I thought it was pretty interesting to hear his thoughts on that. I forgot the question.
Well, I mean,
if it was
Yeah, I
something like
basically I had asked him, I said, you know, how often are you streaming? What are you streaming? What's that look like for you right now?
Yeah, and the truth is, like, I guess some of this I've been had my hands full with, you know, the PC company and everything, trying to fill in when needed. But also, I just haven't been like super into any one game right now, and I'm very much a one game type of person where I like to focus on one title and really just play it nonstop. And so, like, right now, I've been playing some Destiny, but it's just been sort of in a lull for me where there hasn't been anything that it's really I've been able to invest into. And now it's just like some of the games I've been looking forward to are all getting delayed.
No kidding, man.
you played a lot of
Right.
Apex last year. We know you're into Destiny. Was there anything else that you got heavy into before? That's what I'm curious about.
Right.
What you kind of were consider these games got its hooks in me, and what you think will get its hooks into you going forward outside of hopefully Destiny.
So, I mean, aside from Destiny, I'm trying to think of games that I've played the most in, like, you know, the past 4 or 5 years.
I was watching your hunt streams a lot. I was having fun watching those.
I was gonna say I played this game called Hunt Showdown for a while, which is developed by Crytek, who you probably know from Crysis and Rise, Son of Rome. And it's a really cool game because it's not a BR, but it's got BR elements where it's set like in like the late 1800s. So you have all these really old-fashioned weapons like lever action, you know, revolvers, things like that. But there's a supernatural element to it, so it's not like quite exact to the technology. So you're fighting sort of like zombies and like monsters at the same time, but you're also playing against other real players. But there's not that many. There's maybe like 10 total players on the map. So you're trying to navigate this world and complete these objectives against AI. But at any time, you might run into another actual team of players. And it's like it's a very visceral and atmospheric game because it's very immersive. Like the graphics, the audio, it looks amazing. And there's like daytime maps, nighttime maps, where you have to worry about light. You can shoot out lights. You can
That's cool.
That's
I
cool.
love
throw
when you do that.
flares. You can do all these cool things. But there's sort of like a permadeath system where you get your character and then you buy your equipment, your weapons, your throwables, your tools, things like that. But if you die, like if you're fully killed, you lose all of it.
Cool.
You have to kind of start over. So there's this like dread of everything has so much on the line. Do I want to take this fight? Do we try to third party this team? Do we try to bait the objective? Do we hide at one of the extraction points that we think that this other team is going to go to? And I haven't played it recently. I know they've continued to develop it and release it. I played it back when it was like early access on Steam, and I loved it. I've been meaning to go back and check it out again. But yeah, if you're looking for something that's like a little bit different, like it's definitely slower paced, but it has these spikes of like crazy action. Definitely check it out. I think it's just on Steam right now.
What's the incentive then to combat other players? What do you get out of that if you were to decide this is worth the risk to combat this team?
You can, I believe you couldn't do it before, but now you can loot some stuff off their bodies, which you can then keep right until, you know, eventually you die.
The spoils of
you
war.
Lose it all. Right. But it's sort of like a strategic move. It's like early on there were issues where people were playing very passively because they were waiting for other teams to try to do the objectives where you have to like fight a mini boss, and then they were going to just pounce on them when they try to leave the site or something, because eventually the game kind of funnels you toward where enemies are, so you'll know kind of where the action's going on. You can hear gunshots from like a mile away.
Yeah, the sound design is intense. You can really locate other teams based on the gunshots, and that makes you hyper aware of, should I shoot my gun?
Yeah, so you have all these tense moments where, like, I remember when I was playing, you know, there would be a lot of times where you see enemies, see other real players, and you let them go, or you'd hope that they wouldn't find you because you didn't want to risk this. Maybe you didn't have a lot of health at that point or something. You needed to spend more time. You're trying to avoid enemies, or other times like, yeah, this is a good fight. We're gonna take this, and sometimes it backfires on you. Sometimes it's good. There's all kinds of cool things like in the area where there'll be like glass on the floor, which makes a really loud sound when you walk over it, or there'll be chains hanging that if you bump into them, they make a rattling. So
very cool.
It's a game to play with headphones on.
Definitely.
But it is a great game to play with the lights off and the sound.
Yeah, cool.
The voice chat too is you could hear enemy teams when they get close to you talking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh,
Which is
really?
amazing because they'll be talking about, like, I just saw him. He's like right around here somewhere. And you like pop your head out from behind a barrel and blow him away.
Yeah. Do they do any distance effects on that at all?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yeah,
That's
I think it does
great.
fall off. Yeah.
That is
That's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, very atmospheric.
Yeah,
I'm
the
looking
game is
forward to.
awesome.
Oh, sorry.
It's got a really active player base too.
Really, right now it does. Yeah, I've always wanted to check it out. It's funny. Yeah, Triple, I've seen you play it. I feel like Lupo used to play that. He's in a Tarkov now for sure.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's checked it out by now.
When it first
and
dropped, I remember Darkness, Tim trying it out too.
Mm-hmm. And I believe because they originally was just teams of 2. I think they did teams of 3, and then I think you can also play solo now. So there's a little bit more variety too.
Nice.
With the way it's set up, but
Solo makes it feel like a horror game.
Yeah, that's like, I don't think I could handle the solo, but like, you know, I think the duo is like a kind of the sweet spot, but I kind of want to try the trio as well.
Yeah.
Well, you got some time, I think, this year, possibly outside of
the whole summer season. It looks
in
like
terms of games. enjoy this moment right before it gets crazy again.
I've been catching up on a lot of old games, which just felt nice. Like I just started playing Frostpunk, which is like a
they
strategy
released
game.
the new DLC for that recently.
Yeah, they just put it on what's that Microsoft service that I'm always raving about?
Game Pass.
Game Pass. They just put it on Game Pass for PC, so I downloaded it for free and just been messing with it. It's been really enjoyable. I stayed up till 4 o'clock last night playing it.
Nice.
Wow, dope.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I reached back and I actually picked up Pokemon X because that generation I never played when it first came to 3DS, X and Y. I missed that generation of Pokemon, so I was like, you know what? I watched the animated series with my son, and we both really enjoyed it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick that up. So I did, and I've really been enjoying playing that lately.
Nice.
That's the one with all the Pokemon in it.
Every Pokemon ever.
Before
you get to the Elite Four, you literally have a Pokedex that's like you have spotted 350 Pokemon. You're like, holy crap.
That's great. What are you looking forward to, Triple, for this year? In terms of games?
For games?
Yeah, game releases.
Yeah,
even though there's been delay after delay.
Right. I mean, Cyberpunk is right up there. That game looks.
Is that the release you're looking for?
I'm trying to think. I feel like there's a lot of games that have been announced that I've like totally forgotten about, but like right now when it comes to mind, I'm just like, yeah, Cyberpunk, Doom Eternal. I mentioned earlier the Resident Evil 3 remake that's coming out here soon.
Yep.
um,
Final Fantasy 7. Into that.
that's true. That's coming out.
Last of Us 2.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm
That's
I'm missing. I'm
the big
missing a big one here. What is wrong with me? Yeah. Last of
There's
Us
a
Part
lot.
2. I'll probably put that at the top then.
Yeah.
Put that at the top. Maybe
Stoked about that.
That's how you got started
Cyberpunk
streaming, right?
and Doom Eternal. Yeah.
Was it
exactly.
really?
Yeah.
Kidding me.
Well, that's actually how I got partnered on Twitch streaming that game actually, because it had a multiplayer that was it was not well known, but it had a really kind of passionate small community, and I don't know how many people streamed the multiplayer, so I grinded that out for a while. I think I hit #1 on the leaderboards, so that's my
little flex. I like
that's
it.
my pride.
I think
that's
I
my
was the
pride
best
and
in the
joy.
world, but I can't remember.
I wouldn't say I was the best in the world, but I played more than anyone else for a while there.
Yeah.
And the
And so
leaderboard said that you
I got to take the screenshot, and I was like, all right, I can retire now. But there was like, I think Dying Light 2 just got delayed. Indefinitely.
Indefinite
Did I
hiatus.
read
Indefinitely?
Ooh,
Ouch.
that's what they said. And it's rough because I was just watching like an extended playthrough of like one of the missions. It looked great, so it can't.
The first one was amazing.
It was so
yeah,
good.
I love the first game. So I
And the
hope
DLC
that
with it,
still
yeah.
comes out this year.
Maybe that's a
like-
next gen play. Maybe they're like, maybe we need to make this a
Oh,
next
maybe.
gen title.
So originally they said
Well-
spring of 2020, and now it's been pushed to they don't know, which is a big yikes, right? It's like
I'd imagine they would do everything in their power to get it out, like at least in the holiday season. So hopefully that happens. But the other
That
thing
game,
is,
I feel like that game would die in the holiday season.
with all the other stuff coming out.
Yeah.
it's possible.
It's like a
I mean-
perfect February release.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, normally
Not
when they
because of the
say
quality of the
indefinitely-
game, just because it's like the renown of the brand. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's a game that would do fine, I think, even if they released it around, for the end of the year. But I think it would be a mega hit if they were sure to release it when there wasn't anything else big coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing though is like this year, this is like the year of the next gen consoles. So
Right.
we're gonna see, I imagine, a lot of games announced around May, June, E3 time, where it'll be games that are coming out this fall for next gen consoles that nobody knows about. So I'm curious to see what that's like. If there's anything like really big. I know there's a rumor that there's gonna be like a Dark Souls remastered for PS5 and some other stuff. So it's like, kind of the fun thing about E3 is that oftentimes there'll be a game that somehow they've kept secret for so long, and they're like, and it's coming out this year, and that's what's really
Is
fun.
Dark Souls going to become the next Skyrim, where they just keep making it forever on every platform that comes
Like
out?
Resident
Right.
Evil 4. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
It's fine, man.
Maybe.
I think a lot of people
Because
get into that.
they just released a remaster on PC last year, right? Was that last year or the year before?
Yeah. I feel like it was 2 years, but
No, that remaster came out everywhere.
last
Actually,
year?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. That came out on Xbox, PS4, and PC. So moving it over to PS5 and Xbox Series X is a no-brainer, I guess.
Resistance
But-
Fall of Man 4.
Yeah,
Is it ever going to be on
Imagine that.
Amazon's like speaker system? Like, let's really get a
yeah,
Skyrim
I
going.
know. Exactly. You play like a keyword game with Alexa, that'd be good. Alexa,
Perry,
go
Perry,
through the
dodge.
secret door.
fat roll.
Voice
Yeah.
adventure.
Oh God, my Alexa's.
Do you what do you foresee changes happening with the new console generation? Like do you see any kind of wild herrings that could happen with the new generation of consoles? Or are you expecting more PC-esque things happening with it? Like,
Well, I think inevitably these consoles are becoming more PC-like, which is a good thing, right? I think Microsoft had announced native mouse and keyboard support, the support for 120 hertz, and it kind of comes down to like how much are these things going to cost, because rumors are that they're going to be way more expensive than even some of the previous generations when they launched, which I can understand. If they're able to justify it, that's fine. Yeah. But I think it's possible that they could be positioned to compete with like the entry level PC market, where it's like, yeah, I could get a PC for $700 around there, plus or minus, and it would be good. But I could also get a console which is more optimized and
supported continuously,
a little bit easier to use, has some exclusives, things going for it in that way. I think it could be a really compelling competitor. On the Xbox side, kind of the good thing and the bad thing I think about Microsoft is that like if you have a PC, there's almost no reason to get an Xbox because they're releasing practically everything on PC as well. And then you have like the Game Pass, you have the cross stuff that exists. So that's good, like for their ecosystem. So I'm interested to see what the Sony hardware looks like, what that supports, what that does. They're all going to be in the same kind of range spec wise. Like there's only so much they can do, but you have the addition of solid state drives that are going to come stock on these, like NVMe drives, which are going to have, I think it was Sony had done like a behind closed door thing where they were showing Spider-Man loading on the current generation PS4 compared to the PS5 with the solid state, and it was like literally a night and day difference,
dude.
And so I think in terms of raw,
we need that so
things
bad
like
right
that
now.
are going to be going to be so big for open world games, or the amount of fidelity and detail they're going to pack in. It's always really exciting because you every generation is generational in what they're able to do. And even the launch titles, like I remember for when this generation started, like there's some games that came out early that looked really, really good. I think like Killzone Shadowfall on PlayStation 4. I think that was like the first game I got, and I was like, that game still looks really good. Like it looks really good. And now obviously you have games that are able to push past that, but I'm really interested to see what they're going to be able to do with this next generation. I think you might even reach that point where developers don't have practical constraints in the ways that they've had in the past, where it's like they won't be really bound as much by the technical limitations. They'll just be like, hey, we're an artist and we can make the world as big or as small as we want and as detailed as they want, and that's exciting.
Man, I wish I was as optimistic about that. Like I definitely, when you get new consoles like this, like I'm always super excited, but it's usually the few games like God of War and people who code to the metal that, especially when they're exclusive, they do amazing things that you're like, wow. Like, just look at God of War and you're like, man, like it's not even a PC game. It's just unreal good looking. They pushed every piece of the hardware so far, but I personally am kind of expecting, based on the specs, like, I run Control like on Ultra on 1080p or whatever. Maybe you get that at 2K. I feel like that's where the consoles are going to be, and it looks beautiful, by the way. But to be other than God of War 2 and some of these other games, I do think those are the ones that you're like, holy crap. But I feel like, you know what I mean? Being on PC, you get a little spoiled with like, we're already getting like 2K games that look as amazing as Control and Resident Evil,
And PC is always going to be the best because it can scale higher. It's not limited by the initial hardware. And then I'm sure we'll get another like mid-cycle refresh where there's like, the Xbox One Series X2, and then, PlayStation 5.5, right?
Yes.
So like that seems to be
5.5.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to be doing similar stuff like that as they tend to do. But
what I'm excited about is that by having the consoles be more powerful, then like the base level game can be that much better and that much more. If everything that we're making this game for has an SSD and we can rely on that, now things can load faster. We can load in more enemies, more types of enemies. We can have levels load in faster. We can have loading times be faster. Games can just look better because the minimum hardware we're developing for is now that much better, that the heights we can attain when we do turn it on to ultra settings on PC will be that much better as well.
Yeah, exactly. PC is going to take a huge jump with the base console level getting dramatically bumped up to where it is today.
Yeah, because I mean, there's not many PC exclusive games that are developed only for that platform, and that's for a reason. I get it, but it is exciting even as a PC gamer to be like, all right, the whole industry is going to take another jump forward, which is exciting. And I also hope that this next generation of consoles gives a little bit more control to the players in terms of like the settings, right? Like I like every game to have the option of running like 1080p 120 hertz or 1440p 60 FPS, or then like 4K 30 FPS, something like that. So that
field of view slider.
Field of view slider, right? There shouldn't be any reason that in most games would be able to support that. I think having some of that come over would be really nice. And I know, like, for Destiny on console, not having that FOV slider, even aside from the FPS issue, is really rough, because that alone makes so much of a difference. And when I've gone back and forth, like sometimes I'll boot up Destiny 1 and yeah, the frame rate, it's rough, but I can get used to that. It's the FOV that actually bothers me more.
Same.
And just not being able to see enemies, like you're looking through binoculars. So it's pretty rough.
I think that's a good transition to PvP talk, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Since we're talking about the future of console hardware.
Well, no, it'd be like the field of view thing.
Damn good in
field of
Destiny
view,
2.
right?
Yeah, FOV.
Yeah, we obviously we want to talk about PvP and have a nice civil discussion about the state of it and how things are in Destiny and all that. I was just like the field of view is a big thing in PC versus console when it comes to PvP, because you can easily jump over players on console and have this like you're not sure where they are type of effect that's happening, where on PC that mouse is whipping around as fast as possible. You can't pull the same hunter jump on PC as often, right?
Yeah, a lot of the basic maneuvers that are just a part of everyday life in PvP on PC are maneuvers that are literally impossible on a console due to your limitations. Obviously, the amount of skills you can fit in your tool belt are more. There's more skills you can fit in your tool belt on a PC than on console. And I prefer the console experience. I know that makes me a bit of a pleb, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm an old man. But I do enjoy it when I do get to play on PC. I contrary to popular belief, I do play a lot of PC. I enjoy playing Destiny on PC. Just today, I ticked off my list of goals. I soloed Pit of Heresy for the first time. And I know it's not like a huge PvE accomplishment, but I'm a PvP guy, so I felt really good about that. Obviously on PC, on mouse and keyboard, and I felt really happy about that. Nice. But yeah, you can undeniably do some really cool things on PC. You just can't do on a console. So I'm really interested to see how the future of consoles might bridge those gaps, bring them a little bit closer together.
And why is that? Is it because of the FOV with the frame rate? Just that, or is it the control system?
Well, yeah. Well, there's definitely a mix of both. Yeah, it's definitely a mix of both. So with the FOV being wider, you can take in a lot more information on a PC than you can on a console. So certain maneuvers might be more effective in a console environment where people have a little bit more limited vision. So flanking routes, baiting doorways, aerial maneuvers. Those are a lot more successful on a console than they are on PC. On PC, people can take in all that information and react to it, instantly. They swipe up at you. And on console, it might take them a little bit more time when they see you up there, like, oh crap, I gotta look up here and counter this guy. But by that time, you've already laid into him and got several hits. Yeah. On a PC, if they see you, they can just flick right up and instantly engage you. So some tactics are just not effective on a PC like they are on a console. And that's an FOV thing. And then, like you mentioned, input device is definitely a big thing as well. With a mouse and keyboard, you can do maneuvers like if you want to peek a lane, you can sprint into the lane, and then in less than a second, you can go from sprinting this direction to sliding in the direction you just came from. You can't do that on a console. Yeah. So peeking lanes is a little bit higher risk on a console than it is on PC. So, Ari, you might have some more input on this since you main PC, obviously.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything you said is absolutely true. And that's like for me, like everyone else, I started Destiny 2 on console because it came out before the PC version. And yeah, it's like this is pretty much like D1 in terms of like how it feels to move around and shoot and everything. But yeah, when I got the PC version, it literally feels like a different game because in a lot of ways it is. And it's not just the frame rate. Like you said, a lot of it comes down to the input device and FOV being like actual game changers. Now, you can play mouse and keyboard on a console, you know, like a Zim or something. But even still,
it's not the same.
Then you're because it's not a native type of
That's right.
Implementation, so it doesn't feel exactly right. And then mouse and keyboard on 30 FPS feels terrible. So that's why like using mouse and keyboard in a game like Call of Duty or Apex running 60 FPS or Fortnite on console feels really good, whereas D1 or D2 on a mouse and keyboard felt absolutely terrible and wasn't really an advantage in the same way. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, a lot of my enjoyment of Destiny 2 strictly comes personally from the PC version and just, you know, the frames and being able to use mouse keyboard and all the ways that it differs, I think, in positive ways. So it is interesting. It's interesting that Bungie is also not interested, at least at this time, in balancing the two a little bit more differently. And you know, one of the things that frustrated me was how Not Forgotten got nerfed so heavily, and it was a gun that was good on PC, but it wasn't the dominant weapon that it was on console. And I feel like when they nerfed it the way they did, it basically killed it on PC. And it's still used a lot on console from what I understand. And I mean, most of the time I see someone using a control, they are using Not Forgotten on PC as well. But it's a thing where it's like I clearly understood why it was an issue on console, especially because the recoil on console for some reason, like especially with hand cannons, is categorically worse. Like it is not even just slightly different or a little bit off. If you even go and compare D1, like just take the same archetype of like hand cannon, like Better Devils and an Ayaz Luna, and you shoot them at a wall. The Better Devils kicks like twice as much. It is way more. And I don't know why Bungie did that. And it was one of my big complaints when I played the beta and when I played vanilla when it released on console. And to this day, they've never really addressed it directly. And I don't know why that is, because it's like feels like you've just gimped an archetype of weapon that people really like. And it doesn't have really anything to do with your aim. It's just, you're just making that barrier of entry worse. And I think that brings the meta variety down on console. And maybe I'm wrong, but you know, feel free to to elaborate.
TV, like you're a console player, so do you agree with that? Do you have a problem with that with hand cannons?
Hand cannons on well, okay. Here's where we're at on console, on the console environment. So if you were to look at a graph right now, and there's a lot of third-party sites that monitor these things, but if you were to look at a weapon meta breakdown right now on console, you would see roughly 25% of weapon usage is hand cannons. There are about 25% of all weapons used in the Crucible right now are hand cannons, which, if that number means nothing to you, that's astronomical. The next best primary weapon would be a pulse rifle that's usually kind of bounces around between 10 and 12% usage. So that's a huge gap. And then all primaries are down here, with hand cannons being up here. And that's not because hand cannons are fan-freaking-tastic. It's because the best hand cannons are really, really forgiving, and the rest really kind of suck. So it's still Spare Rations, Not Forgotten, and Luna's Howl are the top ones. Why? Because with Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl, you're looking at a gun that has a pretty optimal time to kill in relation to other hand cannons. It's forgiving. You don't have to hit 3 headshots, right? It fires faster than a 140, but it kills in fewer headshots than a 140. So that's like, well, that doesn't really make sense, but that's why Not Forgotten was so powerful for a long time. And it doesn't really recoil it recoils kind of like a scout rifle. It pulls back, not really up. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So it's got a real weird recoil animation. And so it doesn't behave like most hand cannons. The other hand cannon that's on top is spare rations, because the god rolls that people pursue on the spare rations has a pretty godly amount of aim assist. And so clear misses will actually register as even precision hits sometimes. So you can spam it. It's a 150. You can shoot it really fast. You get rapid hit on it. And it's basically just bypassing the recoil problems that all other hand cannons have. So it's interesting
that get around the issue is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's this disparity. Now, it's weird because if all hand cannons were good, that 25% usage rate would be even higher. You know what I mean? Because even though there's only a couple that are excellent, they still dominate the meta, which is it's a really interesting topic.
But they're fun to use, isn't that?
They are fun to use, and it's hard to argue, hey, we need to nerf hand cannons. Look how good they are in the meta. Because if you nerf the ones, if you blanket nerf hand cannons, you're basically making all the terrible ones worse,
right?
And you're taking the only fun ones away. So I don't think that's the right call either.
Point, because when they nerfed hand cannons this last time, when they cut the range down globally by a big chunk, and then they also increased the severity of the damage fall off. And the problem with that is that it made 110s and 140s go from like already outclassed guns to basically useless now.
Meaningless, yeah.
And so now you have the same situation. You have 150s, which are the optimal in terms of rate of fire and time to kill and forgiveness. And you have 180s, which are basically niche weapons that don't really have a place because they change the archetype of the Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl. And it is a really weird spot. I think that they need to give those higher impact ones more range, because that just makes sense, right? It's like you're sacrificing a potential faster time to kill for more forgiving engagement distance. And then they could also do something. This is what I've felt for a long time, is that they should have an easier potential 3-tap. So you have 150s, which are a 2-head or a 3-head, excuse me. Then you have 140s right now, which are also a 3-head shot to kill.
Which doesn't make sense.
So it's like, why would I ever use a 140?
That's right.
Why would I ever use a 110? It's the same thing. But if you made 140 a 2-head 1-body, and you made 110s a 1-head 2-body, then they would have this place where they are technically easier guns to get that 3-tap kill with, but you're still going to lose to someone using a faster firing gun if they're more accurate. So I feel like that's a good trade-off, and I think that would also help a lot into making some of these other types of those guns more appealing.
It makes a lot of sense.
Aside from the range, and that's how it was in D1, by the way. In D1, it was actually 140s had a one-head 2-body.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm not even asking to be as much as it was in D1, and certainly because like on PC, I think because you're able to be more precise, that might be a little too crazy. But yeah, I feel like it's unfortunate to have so many types of guns basically just not even play a role in the game, and they don't have to. They don't need big systemic changes that go down to their foundation. They just need a few tweaks, and I feel it's like, wow, you've made things a lot more fresh and a lot more interesting. All these guns sitting in my vault now, I can go out and I can hold my own with them. Whereas right now, it's like there's really no point because you're just looking for a bad time.
Yeah.
Is that skill-based matchmaking rearing its ugly head?
Skill-based matchmaking.
We gotta just get in. You might as well.
Because why else would everybody using the same stuff?
That is a thing. It seems like every game is dealing with this in some capacity. And I totally understand why it exists. I understand the intention behind it from a developer perspective. But I also feel like it does create a lot of problems. And in Destiny specifically, we have a game that does not run off pure dedicated servers. There is a peer-to-peer connection component. And when you start prioritizing skill, inevitably the connection quality goes down. And it doesn't matter if everyone in the lobby is technically on the same level of skill. If the connections are all over the place, it totally hurts that fairness, that balance that you're trying to achieve.
Throws it out the window, right?
So I think that regardless, I would rather wait longer for a match that has really good connections than one that I get a little bit quicker and the connections are crap. It would be nice to have some kind of toggle where I could filter that. I don't know if that's possible. I know they did that with Halo. I don't know if that's like proprietary tech that now belongs to Microsoft or something. But I feel like that there should be more options. And Classic Playlist is absolutely not connection based. At the very least, it's like random, because I will go and I will queue by myself. So I don't have anyone else like in the UK or something in my party that could maybe potentially influence who I'm matching. So I'm playing by myself and I'm playing people on the other side of the planet. And I can verify that, and it happens constantly. So either their parameters are too narrow, and it's trying to find these matches based on criteria that just creates for a bad experience, or it's just not working right at all. It's broken. And that's really frustrating, because that when they announced that, I was like, all right, at least we'll have a choice now. We have a playlist where we can go in, we can have good connections, not worry as much about skill base. But now I feel like the playlist population is plummeting because of that. And so now maybe the only people that are playing it are those higher tier players hoping to get good connections, but that doesn't exist anyway. So it's like a snake eating its tail problem.
That's right. Yeah, I think another contributing factor. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you were done. I apologize. Yeah, I think another contributing.
I hope they. All right, we did it again. You go. You go.
I think another contributing factor to that playlist being, having a real hard time getting those solid connections. Obviously, like you said, the playlist population is dwindling. I think part of that is you've now taken the what most players look for when they open up PvP, a casual player who just wants to go in there, get their bounties done, have a quick connection. Normally what they do is they open up the PvP landing page, and whatever's front and center is usually the experience that is what we generally refer to as a quick play experience, and a lot of games have this. Whatever's front and center, that's where the game is trying to say, this is just where you start, right? So a lot of casual players will load up the game, they'll open up the PvP landing page, and the thing that's front and center is control, right? It's this 6v6 skill-based matchmaking playlist. But down to the right, in a much smaller icon with completely no labeling whatsoever, just sitting down there, is Classic Mix. It's not called Quick Play anymore. And so unless they actually want to go down to a smaller icon that looks like an afterthought and then read a paragraph about what that entails, then that's just not where they're going to go.
They have to be on Reddit or YouTube and see a video about it and be like, oh, I should check out that playlist. And if you're a typical player, you're not going to be doing that.
And I think the landing page itself really needs to be overhauled. I think what's front and center and displayed to people should be the thing that this is going to be your fast matchmaking. We don't care about skill really here. We're just going to throw you with 12 random players, and then we're going to try and divvy up the teams as best we can. That should be your quick play front and center. And I think that would help populate that quite a bit more.
No, I agree completely. And I think that's a problem, is that we have too many playlists. We don't need 2 weekly rotating playlists, I believe. And we don't need 2 quick play playlists, is what we basically have. And it's not conducive to like being clear to the average player, like you said. So I think we should have 1 quick play playlist, right? Connection based, front and center. I think that's a great idea. 1 weekly rotating playlist. And then the rest of them all are different enough that I think they can stay. I think that it's hard to know without them telling us exactly what's going on with Classic, but I think it is not doing what it's supposed to do, and it's not a good experience.
Do you think it's just busted? Like, matchmaking, I felt, has been problematic for a long time. And like, you jump in Iron Banner, and like, you just like you said, you'll be playing people in the UK when you're solo queuing, and it's like, I don't think that was intended. So somewhere along the road, the actual algorithm for matchmaking got busted, and they're like, ugh. I don't want it.
It's possible. I mean, if you remember, they accidentally turned skill base off right before Forsaken came out, and they came out and they explained that. And if they can accidentally turn something off, I'm sure they can accidentally turn something on, or
accidentally break it.
Accidentally break it. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for some clarity too here, yeah, as I recall, they wanted you to jump into control. That was it. They were like, we feel this is the mode, right? Which I think we agree is the mode. Control is the one. You should try this out. And then we got this other stuff. So they did that. But my question to you guys is, where do you sounds? Sorry, let me back up. On the main mode, which I assume is control, do you want it to be connection based and nothing more? Does it have any skill based? And then where do you want to see skill based? In other words, do you also want a control that is skill based? Like, because you said there's too many playlists, so I'm just trying to decipher which modes you want to see with what and how that's arranged. Like, how do you solve this?
I think you have a single 6v6 quick play, and I say you can throw those 3 modes in there: clash, control, supremacy. I feel like that's healthy, right? You just have the variety of the 6v6 team modes, and you can
and
call
this
it
is
a
front
day.
and center, you're saying?
Front and center, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And then connection should be absolutely 100% priority. It is quick play. It's supposed to be a casual playlist. You go in, you can sweat. You can go in, you can mess around with a bow and a sidearm, do whatever you want. But I will acknowledge that it's okay to have a very loose bit of skill-based matchmaking. I think that's fair. Like, I don't think someone who's brand new to the game should go against, a 6-stack who are, pub stomping.
With
I think that's
spare
fair.
rations,
If they
mind benders.
Right. If they can implement a system which can properly, keep certain low-end groups away from certain high-end groups, I'm all for it. Like, I'm not against that at all. I just think the problem is that they haven't been able to do that properly. It's either like skill base is on 110% and it's oppressive, or it's off completely. That's the only 2 modes I've really seen with Destiny before. So, knowing that, I would just be like, just make quick play what people want quick play to be, and then actually put in maybe, I don't know, an actual ranked mode with a glory system where the rating system is actually related to your skill in a more meaningful way. Because then I also want to play that. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't like pub stomping. I love pub stomping, but I also love
Rude.
playing competition and having a reason to compete and having rewards to chase. And we've all wanted this since Destiny 1 first release. Like, hey, we want a ranked mode. You're the makers of Halo. Some of the most renowned ranked experiences around. A game and a series which most other games these days, I think, draw inspiration upon and built upon that formula. So it would be great to have that, to bring a comp playlist into the game and have it worth playing, having things to play for. I would love to play that. I'd probably put most of my time in that if I could.
That's right. And that's great. Players who really love being hyper competitive need a place to be hyper competitive, because if you don't give it to them, then they're going to pub stomp. Because if they don't have a fun competitive environment, the only other fun thing for them to do is pump stomp. And unfortunately, when that becomes overly common, it cannibalizes the player base because they're killing off the player base. So you absolutely have to have an environment to challenge them. I also think, let me add this, I think 6v6 is too chaotic of an environment for there to be heavy skill-based matchmaking. I get it in Iron Banner, an occasional thing, that's totally fine. But that heavy skill-based matchmaking in a 6v6 environment is just too chaotic, and it's just not enjoyable.
It's an inherently casual type of experience.
Yeah. Yes. But I can tell you this, I would live in a 3v3 clash, aka skirmish playlist that had skill-based matchmaking on. I love that. I loved that in Destiny 1. I spent a ton of time in that playlist in Destiny 1, and I can say on behalf of a lot of more high-end players, they would love that experience, and they've been asking just for a 3v3 clash playlist with skill based on. They don't mind playing good competition. A lot of us love that. We just want an environment that's a little bit more controlled to do that in. But also,
go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Well, I was going to jump in and say, but you also want there to be a reason to compete, right? You can't just compete for competition's sake, because if we want to do that, we would just only do private games and everyone would be doing that constantly. You want to have, especially in a game like Destiny where you have a loot-based game, throw in some cool ornaments to unlock every season. Throw in some emblems, some things that are like prestigious, but they don't affect the gameplay. And that's the things that you want to chase. But I mean, to the more broader point of, there is no such thing as a perfect matchmaking algorithm. There's always ways to exploit something. If you have skill-based matchmaking, people will reverse boost, or they'll get smurfs, or they'll do things to exploit it in that way. If you have no skill-based, then yeah, maybe they'll run around, they'll pub stomp, they'll six stack constantly. But if you give people a choice, and a meaningful choice that each feels distinct and well developed, then I think that is ultimately the best option, because the vast majority of players are going to take advantage of that and fit into one of those two categories depending on what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you guys made some interesting points, which is like the killing off of, players that maybe can't compete, and some of that's happened. I think there are some dangers in quick play with, depending on what the player base is, right? If it's just connection and I'm matching you guys, well, I'm screwed, and that might be frustrating. So to solve for that, yeah, like how do you solve for that? Maybe is it just to have a straight up skill-based, control or whatever it is? And then secondarily, Watts is in chat. She couldn't make it tonight, like we said. I thought she brought up a good point I'd love to hear you guys talk about, which is like bringing people in because of the rewards. Like, so secondary question of where you feel like, what's the reason to play PvP other than getting good? But maybe starting with like, how do you address people who are just like, okay, and they want to get better, but if it's all connection based, isn't that sort of why we're getting so much skill based, to avoid feeling frustrated?
Yeah, I think Ari touched on some good stuff earlier when he talked about protecting against, he didn't say it exactly this way, but protecting against outliers. So if you have a really new player, there should be protection built into the system that keeps them away in the connection-based playlist, that keeps them away from a really high skill player. So I do think they need to find I'm not a solutions person. I don't know how to code that or make that work, but there should definitely be protection.
Like your first 5 levels, you only played other people in the first 5 levels.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you could protect the outliers from encountering each other, that's definitely something that would be helpful. And then you're talking about incentives. Yes. So I think incentivizing players is important. I think it's less important in quick play, because in the quick play experience, a lot of players, they're just knocking out bounties. They've already got a reason to be in there in the first place. They're not just in there killing time. Generally speaking. So if you had, obviously, your ranked, your comp, any skill-based matchmaking environment, that's a great place to incentivize players with unique rewards, ornaments, what they call in the industry peacocking, things that they can put on just to show off what they did. And the thing about a skill-based environment that's great is it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum. If you're really good or you're really bad, as long as you're in that environment and playing it, you can unlock rewards. That's great. And I've seen so many casual players say they love skill-based matchmaking because it does protect them against the outliers and getting stomped. So if they have an environment they can go into, even if it is 3v3 in a little bit more controlled environment, they can still pursue rewards that make them feel good about playing PvP and not get stomped doing it.
So what do those rewards? What do those rewards look like? Because we had comp show up, and it was like your comp level, and then all of a sudden, not forgotten. Or I mean, Luna's Howl, and then huge gap, not forgotten, and then an ornament for Mighty Multi-Tool. Like, that's clearly not cutting it, right?
Well, there's a problem with rewards across the board in the game right now, right? It's like everybody's.
That's a bigger issue, yeah.
Player, PvE player, it's a huge problem right now. Is that half the new art in the game is devoted to the Eververse store and not earnable in game.
What would you guys see for rewards that would like also incentivize people who aren't gonna be 1%ers, but like are just jumping in a few times a week, that are getting beat a lot, but also winning a couple times here and there?
Halo 4 was not a very good game, but they did have one thing they did excellently well, and that was, no matter how you liked to play, you were always working towards something unique. They had different modifications for your armor sets. They had different, all kinds of different things you could unlock. If you liked using an auto rifle, which sucked in Halo 4, right? The AR was terrible, but if it was your favorite gun, after a while, you would unlock a really unique piece of armor. And so when you saw just that one piece of armor, and it wasn't necessarily like crazy or over the top, but when you saw it, you knew this is an AR guy. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of peacocking I would love to see, whether it's shaders, unique armor ornaments, emblems that track really unique things like how many kills you have with future war cult weapons, right?
Call of Duty
Stuff
used
like
to do this too, where if you used a gun for 10,000 kills, you got like a new skin for it. If you did it for 20,000 kills, you got a better skin for it. People just play for that.
Unlock all the skins.
So yeah, if you just use like handheld Supernova all the time, you get like an eggplant armor set.
You get deleted from the game.
They just put cinder blocks on your feet.
You get added to Techie's playlist.
I brought this
automatically added to Techie's plan.
Yeah, you guys weren't on the show. I think it was last week. I was like, remember big head mode? But I was like, if you're like a dick when you're playing, you eventually just get big head mode in PvP for like exploiting or DDoSing and stuff like that. So
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're hacking all the time.
Well, or using handheld Supernova all the time.
I think that's not even like a PvP specific thing, but like generally having reward paths. It could be weapon based. It could be like you said, like each gun has maybe a set of kind of like Call of Duty, like it has a silver skin and has a gold skin, something to that effect that you could unlock on every legendary or something. You just have to use it a certain amount. Maybe it's separated, but there's like a set for PvP and a set for PvE. It could be all kinds of things. You can have a battle pass that's only for PvP that has unlocks in it.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, you could do so many things. But I think where I was coming from was a little bit smaller scale of just have some kind of ranked mode that people respect and that is has a solid foundation. And then you can throw in some cool things for people to chase. And yeah, there can be something at 1,000 glory. There can be something at 2,000 glory, 3,000, 4,000, and everywhere in between as much as you want to do. And like 5,500, you could have like bring back the Nightfall flames above your head.
Yeah.
And you
There
can
you go.
see that wherever
That'd be
you are
cool.
in the game. Things like that I feel would be fun. It does feel like Eververse has sort of cannibalized a lot of the customization in the game, unfortunately. And I would hope to see more of that implemented into actual activities as rewards. And yeah, no matter how you slice it, PvP does not have a lot of investment incentive currently.
How do you feel about going into PvE and playing a strike over and over and over and over to get the perfectly rolled shotgun that you then go in and use like a primary in PvP?
Well, that is, I farmed Omnigul for the Grasp of Malak back in the day, and that was a really good pulse rifle in PvP. I don't think that's inherently. I don't think it's a bad thing or a good thing. I just think that's just part of the game. The game has two sides to it, and I don't think anyone should feel that they have to play activities that they don't like. It's always optional. If you're a completionist, then by definition, you are going to do all the activities to unlock all the seals and all the triumphs and things like that. But at the same time, if you look at the type of gear that you can get from Crucible, it is very underwhelming. Like all of Shax's gear, for the most part, is very mediocre, to put it lightly. Whereas, like if you go look in D1, you had Eyes Luna, Palindrome, Matador, Party Crasher. I think was a world drop. I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of good guns you could get just from playing PvP, which was great. I don't feel like we really have that, and we haven't had any vendor refreshes basically ever.
Yeah.
So
Against all
could be nice
odds,
to have
to the more.
have a bone thrown our way.
Yeah, Hawksaw.
Hawksaw, yeah.
Yeah, vendor Hawksaw was so great. I was gonna say I kind of agree with that, which is like I don't feel like, or there are guns that it's like, hey, it's your option, but then when you look at the meta, like that's not true necessarily. So meaning take spare rations. Like why do we have to play Reckoning, right? I mean, there's nowhere else to get it, right? Like heck, I mean, I would take it as a random
play
drop
Gambit
on
Prime
banner.
Yeah,
That's true. You can play. Yeah, you're right.
Pick your poison.
Good point. So you can play Gambit.
No, Gambit Prime.
Anything the
Not
Drifter's
Gambit.
selling. Yeah, sorry.
That's
Gambit
right.
Prime. I know. I meant in general, like the Drifters goods. But like, what do you guys think of that? Like, why? I actually am. I don't mind going in and do it, but I'd rather just play PvP. Like that's what I want to use it for. Shouldn't it be there? You know, don't we need more guns? In other words, don't you think we need more guns in PvP? I wasn't clear on that.
Yes,
Trip.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
like,
sure.
Like what?
Those random drops.
Why not take? You know, like reskin Rose or Dire Promise and make that the Crucible hand cannon, a 150 kinetic that you can get random rolls on. Like,
Yeah.
I would certainly rather do
I
that
wouldn't mind a
than sit in
reskin.
Reckoning for 100 hours in the last few months.
There's a lot of things I'd
So-
rather do sitting reckoning for
Yeah.
100 hours.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
I'd
solitary.
to see
Goddamn.
more options like that because sometimes you just feel like sitting down and it works both ways. Like sometimes I might just want to go in and like run strikes, and that's what I like. I chill out, families around or whatever, and maybe that's how you play Destiny. I don't think everything needs to be everywhere, but you should have a few more options. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's why I brought up the whole strike thing, like going in and farming a mindbenders, and like I get that loop, but I think this is fundamentally part of the problem when it comes to PvP is that the PvP loop doesn't reward the PvP loop. It hinders it. Right?
You can't even get enhancement. You can't. You don't get reliable source of enhancement cores, prisms, and ascendant shards either. And you can only do that in PvE, and that's really unfortunate since tooling out your build relies heavily on masterworking your gear.
Yeah, and part of the problem is like rolling engrams from people and what's in them. Like in other words, like it just doesn't happen now, right? But I'm not like playing PvP and I'm like, oh man, I just got this drop, and I'm like checking it out like at the post game match, and I'm like super excited because I just got mindbenders, or I like Elegy as a sniper, whatever. I'm like, oh man, like look at the roll I got. To me, that
Bring
and I'm a
back
casual.
post game rewards as well.
Yes.
That's what I was
Yeah.
getting at.
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That hype feeling of like.
Like the scoreboard slowly animates on the screen.
Yeah.
You have the little two icons, and then you're waiting for them to pop in.
Yeah,
I
real
remember
slow.
playing like a Rumble match in D1, and like some guy on the bottom, like late joined, got a Gallarhorn, and was freaking out, and I was freaking out. And it was just like just little moments like that, or just your friend gets the role that you wanted, and you're just looking at it, you're stuck there for 30 seconds, just having.
That's exactly how I got
you
Hawkmoon.
son of a bitch.
And I was so fucking excited. I was in the middle of an Iron Banner match where I was half paying attention and half watching TV, just grinding Iron Banner in D1 offline all by myself. And Hawkmoon drops, and I flip out.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Bring it back.
Well,
I don't have those moments, right?
Yeah, I miss seeing a role of like an Ayaz Luna from the activity that you actually use it in from PvP. You get something to drop and be excited to see those happen, and that's definitely not in D2 right now.
Yep.
Right?
Hey, maybe Better Devils would be the Iceland of D2 if 140s and got a little bit of a buff that they need.
That's
Maybe.
right.
Yeah, and
True.
it's weird because there actually are a lot of guns, but I think there's, I don't know, I feel like there's not that many of the ones you really want. And like, yeah, for me, it's like I know, like I have to try to go get Lunas and Not Forgotten and get a crew together and do that, or grind out. Maybe I can do it solo or whatever.
I think what you're
I'd rather
saying
just-
really is that yes, it's fine to have unique pieces of gear in the game that require a certain activity and such, but it shouldn't feel so restricted that if I want to be able to compete in the meta, I have to go farm this strike that I hate for hours upon hours upon hours to get this gun. Right? There should be hopefully at least 2 options or something, like, hey, I can get something of equal quality more or less elsewhere, and ideally from the activity that you're actually going to use it for. I think that makes sense. Like Gambit guns should be good for Gambit, Vanguard guns should be good for strikes and PvE, etc.
Yeah, and maybe as like a temporary thing even. I've liked some of the stuff that Borderlands 3 has done called rare spawn events, but they pick a period of time and they throw loot into locations or just increase it, but like imagine that it was like, oh, whatever, it's Crimson weeks and it's 2 weeks, but guess what? You might be able to get a spare rations out of control, or send people, with a little increased loot occasionally. And, I just think they need levers in Destiny to do that more. Like, I don't know if they can or not, right? You said it before, like, is it easy to code this or not?
Right.
Like, can you just throw mine betters into the overall pool for like 2 weeks and, set a number that's fair?
Well, what I was going to say is that they could do that with the Sundial. They could have rotating gear that you could get from Sundial this season. You get spare rations this week. You get a mine benders next week, and some other gun. They could throw it into Menagerie. They have content that's kind of built with these systems in mind, and I think Sundial is actually, probably the best activity in terms of reward structure. Mm-hmm. It feels fair. You get a good amount of loot for it after you've leveled up your obelisks and everything. Yeah. But yeah, I would. I mean, that was what was so disappointing, is because like I thought the activity was great. There's just nothing really that I was interested in getting out of it in terms of the gear. So,
what you guys propose requires that Bungie like knows in advance, like, this gun that we just created is going to be great in PvP. So we need to put it in a PvP playlist, right? We need to put it in a PvP activity. This gun that we just created is going to be good in strike, so we should make it a strike-specific loot.
Do you think
they need to know that beforehand? Which I don't always know that they do know that beforehand. They don't know how good a gun is going to be until it's in the hands of the community, and all of a sudden everybody's running around killing bosses with Mountaintop.
With some things, yes. With other things, no. I feel like, especially if you look at the spare rations and you're like, oh, we're gonna make a hand cannon. It's gonna have higher aim assist than most guns of its archetype. It has the most optimal time to kill. It can roll a rapid hit. It's like, you put these pieces together. It should be a no-brainer. You look at that and you're like, oh, this is gonna be godly. And maybe they did know that. I'm not saying they didn't know that, but that one is sort of like well, of course that's gonna be godly in the right hands. But then there's other stuff that you can't plan for, obviously, like Glad breaks everything in PvE in really weird ways.
Yeah.
Well, then I was gonna say, then on the flip side, they'll add a gun like Waking Vigil, or they'll bring back Jack Queen King, and the perk selection is atrocious compared to like spare rations. It's like, they're in different slots, but at least give me another option or something that I could want to try out at least. And now I was like, there's no reason for me even to want to get that, because there aren't any actual good roles that I would consider for PvP.
Yeah. We have a lot probably still to talk about, so I don't want to move us too fast, but it is getting late. I had a different topic in here that I was looking at. We were talking before the show. TV was talking about, the renewed focus on PvP that Bungie says is coming, but like, do we feel informed enough? Like, do we think it's a problem that we know that PvP is being looked at, but like when and where and what? Do we think it's overdue, or do we just got to be patient? And how's it affecting the player base?
I think in an attempt to be transparent, they made that statement. I think they kept hearing from the community, we wish you would tell us more. We wish you would keep us in the loop on stuff. And they said, okay, we're going to have a renewed focus on PvP. Now, they did not tell us, we're talking 6 months from now, we're looking at making some major changes. They didn't tell us that. And of course, here's the reality. Development is a very slow process. Making games is a slow process, especially a game of this size. But people don't know that. And when you say a renewed focus, people are thinking, okay, cool, maybe next season, maybe 2 seasons out. They're not expecting 3 to 4. Now, I think that was good of them to be transparent. I think they were maybe transparent a little too early, because it was like,
so they're getting punished for it.
Now they're getting punished for it. Maybe a little bit of a misstep there. But if you're going to be transparent that early, then you probably should put some stuff on a roadmap. Given they've dropped pretty big hints at things like Trials coming back. They've dropped major hints. It's sort of like we're telling you, but we're not telling you kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? So everybody knows it's coming, and we're all just like, where's the announcement? When's it going to happen? And then they're like, we're going to do a live stream today. And you're like, it's today. And then they're like, here's the PvE activity you already play, and some people talking about it. And then everyone's like, ah, you know, if you ever been in those chat rooms and they're like, that was it. They're so mad. So I think you gotta.
Chat rooms are the worst.
They are the worst, man. And it's like it's a train wreck, and you're watching it happen. You can't. Right. You're like, I could have seen this coming a mile away.
Yeah.
So,
it is. It's like the worst people that you've ever met all together in one room.
Do you guys feel like a true renewed focus on PvP has or is happening, or next season is truly going to have like this new spit and shine on the sandbox that's going to suddenly be like, wow, PvP now? Like, do you feel that way?
I will say that the sandbox is not the issue with
I
PvP.
agree with you.
I'd say that in a lot of ways the sandbox is really good overall. If you look back to some of the previous ones we've had, Destiny 1, Destiny 2, the issue right now is a lack of endgame experience, a lack of things to chase, a lack of purpose, right? We had the comp playlist for a long time, and it was something, and certainly never realized the potential that it should have. And at this point, it's basically being just reworked into just a survival thing where glory doesn't really mean as much as it used to. We don't have pinnacle weapons anymore. So it feels like that got watered down. We have Iron Banner, but we don't have trials. It's just there's really nothing there for someone to really put a lot of time into. And I love quick play as much as anyone, but I'm not going to play it all day, every day without some kind of goal. And I would certainly love to have balance updates, sandbox updates on a more regular schedule. Like the dream would be like once a month, you know? But right now it's like you have to have some kind of activity that people can have as their end game. It looks like it's going to be trials, and I hope it's great, and I hope that it fulfills that. But that's really what's missing for me right now. So it's not really a sandbox as an issue. That being said, got to nerf Florida Wolves. Got to delete controversial holds from the game. You got to delete all fusion rifles. Delete everything that's not a hand.
Hold on.
Well, I mean, I feel like that is the hot topics though that come up though when it comes to the sandbox. It's not necessarily the sandbox as a whole is a problem. It's these outliers that make it very problematic for a lot of people, because at a certain point you hit an MMR and suddenly that's all you see in your matches. Right.
Well, but that's also like sort of a byproduct of skill based, right? Mm-hmm. And that like kind of forces people into a meta that they don't necessarily want to play, because they also don't want to just lose nonstop, because that's not fun. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that there's a double-edged sword there that they need to address kind of all of it, hopefully together, because it is kind of like compounding existing problems. But yeah, I feel like if they can add in a ranked mode, add in trials, I think the game could have both of those coexist in a healthy environment by offering different experiences. Add in an actual anti-cheat, because that is more of an issue on PC. Try to come up with some solution to mitigate DDoSing. And yeah, see if we can get a balance update more than once a season. You know, those are goals, I think, which are not too crazy to ask for, personally.
Mm-hmm. How do you guys?
I actually heard Bungie is gonna release its own VPN. It's been a long-term play.
Bungie VPN,
have a VPN company
for $10 a month.
Can I spend my bright dust on it?
Exactly. How do you guys feel about the special ammo economy right now, with the way the meta is?
In PvP, you mean, Tift?
In PvP, yeah.
Fine.
Sorry.
For me, that's pretty low on the list of things I'm concerned about. I think Destiny without special weapons, I think we've already seen this before. Destiny, when people don't have special weapons, is a shell of Destiny. It's not the full Destiny experience. So the ammo economy to me isn't the biggest issue. The only thing that I would say about the ammo economy that can be a little bit triggering is if you're a sniper, it's a real challenge to use a sniper rifle like a sniper rifle and get your ammo off your kills. Mm-hmm. Your teammates are going to beat you to it. Your opponents are going to beat you to that ammo, and that's pretty frustrating. As opposed to when you're running something like a shotgun, especially if you've got slide or whatever was a slide shot, whatever the one that reloads.
Yeah.
You get your kill slide, get your kill slide, get your kill slide, and you compare that to a sniper, and it's like they don't even have to reload the thing. They're getting their kills, they're getting their ammo, they're getting their reload just as they play, and so it's a little aggravating as a sniper.
Like maybe they could do something where like inherent to all snipers in PvP, when you get a kill, you get half of the ammo brick or something.
Like shoot to loot or something.
Yeah,
or maybe the ammo would lock to you for like 10 seconds. No one else
Yeah.
could pick it up. I don't know. You still have to go out there and get it.
Way over there and do it. Yeah.
And
So
you know,
want
to be
people
fair,
camping.
that might be okay. You don't want people just sitting back with infinite sniper. That's not going to be a good solution either.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
But overall, ammo economy doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
What
What about people running double scavengers though?
Let them. I've
Yeah?
got good friends of mine who run double special, and they love running fusion rifle, sniper rifle, and ends up being a really unique and dynamic play style. And I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of people see different things as cheesy in Destiny, but this isn't CS:GO. If people want to play with those off the wall things that people might consider cheesy, let them. I think Destiny 2 is a wonderful canvas that allows players to be really creative with the way that they engage with the game.
Is it okay though if they're running Lord of Wolves with double scavenger?
No,
Absolutely. If Lord of Wolves gets Lord of Wolves gets nerfed, sure.
Let's say it's not nerfed. Let's say the ammo stays.
Well, I think that's a really nearsighted way of looking at the game. I think if things need to be balanced, they need to be balanced. You can't say the ammo economy is the problem when Lord of Wolves is the problem. You know what I'm saying? You can't go targeting the ammo economy. If
The
Lord
thing
of
is,
Wolves
I can run around with
the experience.
I can run around with the Arentil and have like 10 plus shots almost all the time because I have double scavs.
Well,
But-
if we
but
reduce the consistency of Aaron Till, that you won't be doing that. Aaron Till's the problem.
I'm gonna agree though. I don't think there's anything wrong with the special ammo economy itself. I think that there are outlier weapons which need to be addressed, and I would say that primaries in general still need to be a little bit stronger. I would say, I am a hand cannon fanboy, so I'd say that the hand cannon nerfs were unwarranted, but I could acknowledge that we could have nerfed them. I think they nerfed them a little too hard because now you're forced into closer ranges where you have to fight Lord of Wolves. You have to fight Arentil because one slide puts them in kill range of you. And I'm being punished for using my primary. And then my other option is just to maybe turret in the back of the map with a scout or a pulse rifle, but that's not the kind of player I am. I feel like I'm being punished for trying to use a weapon in its intended role. So I'd say auto rifles in general need a buff. They've needed buffs for a long time. I like auto rifles. Rarely have I ever felt like I was able to compete with weapons that were higher tier because they just feel like a step below. So I'm all for trying to achieve the goal of every weapon being viable. Doesn't have to be the meta, because that's impossible. But so bringing a lot of these guns that are clearly just bad, these archetypes that are bad, take a look at exotics. So many exotics are just useless.
Yeah.
And they're just and they spend so much time on exotics. They have to create a unique weapon model, unique sound. They put lore, they put ornaments, all this stuff, and then they just sit there, never used because they just need to be a little bit better. And they've done that.
Some
in the
people
past.
don't even go through the trouble of earning them because they know
exactly. And they've done that in the past where they've overhauled exotic weapons and armors in the past, and it's been great. And they've done that well. I wish they would do that more often because it feels like there's this huge chunk of the game that is just not being appreciated or utilized.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what I was saying, like this renewed focus on PvP. Well, I hope it's not just like this big seasonal update and we go right back to like, well, it's been a year and a half. Like, I think we all want to see like an engine behind, all this, like constant, updates and all that. Like, you guys clearly love Destiny PvP, and it is such a unique thing when you look around, right? Being able to use like these really bizarre weapons and magical space powers and all that. And
there's still nothing like it. There's nothing that can replace Destiny. And I feel like that's something that Bungie still needs to capitalize on, because even with the almost zero support that they've given PvP for like the last 2 years. Aside from, hey, we'll throw you some maps, we'll bring back elimination, we'll do some smaller things. To speak of, PvP has been largely ignored. And even still, so many people play it. So many people enjoy it. And I think that's just like, that should be sending off sirens at Bungie headquarters. Like, hey, we have a really invested base of PvP players. Let's try to
capitalize on it.
Build up, because that's revenue they're missing out on.
I agree.
Their bottom line is like, they could be bringing more people into that experience, and they're not. And that's really unfortunate.
But yeah, it's funny. I brought this up a lot, and it's a perfect segue to what I had in my mind. Is like, I wonder, like, how do they decide like how much you dedicate to PvE and PvP? I do feel like PvE is by far got, you know, the lion's share. And you guys, you really got me thinking, mentioning it earlier. Like, I love this idea of like, what if we just had 2 season passes? You know, and it's like, if I play PvP and I want to spend my money on, I don't know how they get the number right for people who want to do both. Maybe you discount it if you buy both. But like, I love the concept of monetizing PvP in a clear way that you as the player get rewarded, and Bungie says, we are making money, let's hire some more people, let's get those dedicated servers, you know, all the above. Because I feel like we're in this situation where it's like, well, did you buy Shadowkeep? Did you and your community support Shadowkeep? Because that affects whether or not we're going to give you what you want in PvP. And isn't it a bit of a like, how do they figure that out? The player base? But then you're not playing because all the reward, you see, like, it does seem like I personally am worried we're still not on the right path for them to understand how to monetize and grow it as a team. You know, I have no idea, but it just seems like PvE is by far like the golden child. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or.
You can't argue with numbers. You know, the PvE player base is you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a lot bigger than PvP. I don't know. I was trying to be really eloquent with it. I didn't need to. It's bigger.
It's not that much bigger than you'd think, though, relative to the amount of daily PvP players compared to daily PvE players, and especially during times where like there's really nothing to get from PvP. Like, I can understand like the beginning of the season, there's like a new pinnacle weapon, or now the ritual weapons, like you'll see a spike, but even still, like toward the end of a season or halfway through, you're getting a lot of people logging daily and playing Crucible. And you know, you'd have to take some polls or something to try to find exactly why they're doing that and what drives them. But it's not like PvP is this flop that is ignored because nobody plays it, nobody enjoys it. It's clearly something people are passionate about, and they want to be able to invest more time in it and potentially more money. But there isn't that platform to do it on. Yeah.
I mean, rewards. We already went, you know, over till we're blue in the face. Like, it's just like, I played Reckoning for whatever 10 hours one weekend, and I would have happily played PvP, but I didn't have that option. I think there's too much of that on one side. But I'm a numbers guy too, and like the fact that PvE is bigger doesn't mean everything. It's engagement. There's a lot of numbers that go into it's how many hours, how many dollars per whatever, right? The player willing to spend. And all I'm saying is, I really think PvP needs that gateway. And man, I'm all for a season pass for PvP. I love this concept. That might be one way to do it, but I don't know if you guys have other ideas. But rewards would be a free way to do it, which is like, I will happily play more PvP if there's things.
I don't know about an additional season pass just for PvP, especially in this environment right now with the way PvP is received, because
you're not in this environment.
Well, that's what they're combating right now. Like, if they go into trials and still have a lot of these outliers that exist right now in the sandbox, and the way people feel about SBMM and just the overall tone, there's a lot of people who are very concerned about how the reception is going to be for something like trials coming back with the current state of how PvP feels.
True. But yeah, and I think you're right. Like, you've got to step into whatever the long-term plan is, so you don't get a ton of negative feedback. Like, why do you want me to pay for this stuff? I don't have enough in trials, you know, if that's our next complaint or whatever. But I am also, it's been years, and I'm not even like a PvP main, and it's like, I just want to see that team grow. I have to assume that's the resources. And like, in other words, Teft, I totally agree with you, but I also don't want to keep waiting. So like I don't want to wait another season and wait for the feedback, which then we're 2 seasons after that. Now we're into the new September launch and the next gen crossovers. And so when do we come around? Are we a year from now that we finally are getting what we're talking about today?
When they said
the
renewed
faster we
focus?
get
I
there-
don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's right around the corner.
Okay.
I think we're gonna see some stuff real soon.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
thing that they had said, I think it was back in one of the Vidocs for Shadowkeep, might have been Luke Smith, was
The director's
teasing
cut.
like season 10 is where things get interesting. I remember some bits about you're going to see something you've never seen before. Basically, kind of
They did basically. Yeah.
giving these ideas of like there's going to be some big game shifting events. I don't know if that's PvP, PvE. Is it both?
Gambit Ultra Prime.
Gambit Prime 2.
The re-reckoning.
Yeah, re-reckoning. Reckon again. So I
Triple reckoning.
certainly hope, but like as we have all said, they gave us this line, before Shadowkeep came out, and so we all expected like, oh, that means Shadowkeep's going to be the renewed focus, and they did some stuff, but wasn't much. Then we assumed, oh well, it'd just be the next season, and then this season came around, not really anything, and I feel like this next season almost has to be at this point, otherwise people will call them liars, tell them that they were deliberately stringing them along, and because this is how people are going to act, and maybe that's their fault for not giving some context for that statement, but at the same time, you gotta throw us a bone
Right.
by now,
And
it's been so long.
So just for clarity then, so if we get trials and we get, or what is it that would make this season 10, like, in your opinion, a more stable, renewed, thing? Is it more frequent patches? Like, where do you guys...
I mean, I want it all. Yeah,
Right.
I want trials, I want more
Realistically, based
frequent
on-
patches. I want dedicated servers. I want anti-cheat. I want all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
realistically,
yeah, if we
what's the step?
can, I think, in my opinion, the biggest issue is lack of an end game experience. And to this date, trials has been the most successful thing that Bungie has done single-handedly for PvP. So bringing that back will be big. I know a lot of people who literally do not play because there's no trials, and the second trials comes back, they will play. That is big. I think it should be part of the paid content, because that will it would just be insane not to, because they should monetize it, because it is something people will pay for if it's good. And on PC, that will also hopefully deter some of the nefarious actors who crop up from time to time here. I don't know. Beyond that, I don't want to get my hopes up, certainly, for anything, but I think that would be the biggest single thing that they can do. And with that, I sort of feel like you have to be more nimble with how you balance the game, because this will be a premier PvP activity. Everyone's going to be paying attention to it. Everyone's going to be focusing on it. Every weekend, it's going to be the subject of a lot of scrutiny and discussion. And what map is it this week? And what guns are people? This is running rampant. This is overpowered. And I know that you can't just knee-jerk react to everything, but you can't wait an entire season before you address something like Lord of Wolves, which is clearly a problem still.
Yeah.
And,
That's what
and they
was
sort
in
of
my mind.
they sort of did that in D1. Like I remember, Scories was a big issue. People would just huddle in the back and charge their supers, and they, if I remember correctly, they did address that pretty quickly. I think,
I feel like it was going on a while,
maybe
right?
it's that compared to things now, Recluse for a year, One Eye Mask for a year, maybe it just seemed like it was way quicker, and it was probably still like 3 months or something.
Yeah, it didn't feel
like-
quick at the time. I can assure
No.
you.
Okay.
I feel like it was 3
Maybe
months later. Yeah.
Maybe that had driven me away from trials at that point. I don't know.
That
But
was one of those moments.
I would love for them to be able to do stuff a little bit quicker in relation
We know
to
the
that stuff,
PvP team had a shakeup, right? It's like the
Mhm.
head's pretty
Yeah,
much left.
Noseworthy's gone, Hamrick's gone, Claude is gone, who wasn't exclusively PvP, but he did a lot of stuff for the subclasses.
Yeah.
Well, those were
So
still
it
at the company.
does go to reason. Like if the management of your team left, there's going to be a delay while new people take over, new people go into new positions.
Sure.
But hopefully, what we get out of it is new ideas as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they've really come out and said, because they haven't done any like PvP focused discussion or Vidocs or anything, so we don't really know what the team looks like. We don't know who's leading. We don't know whatever's happening. But I assume that we will get that if indeed they are doing something big for Crucible. They'll probably come out with some streams or some whatever, and hopefully give us some insight into what things are looking like now. And
we do know Kevin Giannis, you may know him as Tocom online, has stepped up and is a pretty. I'm sorry, I did mean they're saying in chat. I didn't mean noseworthy. What I meant was Noose. That was a misstep on my behalf. I apologize. But yes, Tocom, who you may have seen online, has stepped up quite a bit in the PvP department. I don't know entirely what his role entails, but I know that he is on the Crucible team, and he's a really cool guy. He's got a rich history in like playing Halo competitive. During the ranked times in Halo 3, he's a great guy with a great rich history in the PvP department. So I'm excited to see him on that team.
Yeah, he's combat systems gameplay lead according to his Twitter. So,
combat systems gameplay lead.
So yeah, I mean he's stepped up. I think.
I know he had a lot of his hand was in a lot of the recent changes to the solar subclasses. We know actually.
Nice. And you still got like Lars Bakken, who's been there like forever.
He's a legend,
and he's like the legend. And he's still, as far as I know, over PvP. And
I love Lars. He had left PvP to work on Gambit, or was it Gambit
right.
Prime? But
we were like, "Baby, come back!"
Yeah. So I think now that that's all over, at least I think Gambit development's been put on hold for the time being. I think I would assume that he's back on PvP. So hopefully that is the case.
Hopefully that materializes in March.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
God, it's still so far away.
It won't seem that way in a few weeks, I bet you.
For PvP,
it's almost March.
Feels like a long time away. Yeah. Because it's been so long.
Yeah. I hope it truly is renewed. And yeah, like for me, I do hope we see more frequent patch updates. I think that's just one big thing that's been missing. And I think you're right, Triple, that it was more frequent back in the day. It definitely was. Even though we went through big bouts, like it was just more frequent overall. And then I would love to see. I know the problem is you want to see vendor refreshes for everything, but like I would take even just Shaxx having some vendor refreshes, like whatever, even every month, like just something.
At this
small.
point, we're scrounging for any morsel.
Yeah, like imagine being like, oh, I love the vendor hand cannon, whatever it is, and and being in control of that. They could put stuff in there to help with that. But anyway.
At the end of Destiny 1's life, they were doing vendor role refreshes. I think I like that.
But they weren't giving us a new archetype or not new archetype.
But the problem is we have the token system now. We don't actually can't like even buy things outright.
True.
Yeah. Hopefully they could maybe rework that a little bit. Hey, just go back to D1 system for all I care. I didn't have any issue with it. Copy paste the factions from D1 back into D2. I would be happy.
The token system seems like a leftover from when loot boxes were taking over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a leftover from D2 launch, and it has a stale taste. I really miss factions. I miss that, like them having an identity in the game, and there's just no identity. There's no identity in them right now. I like it. It's a bummer.
You can see their banners strewn about the tower.
Yeah, think of these new light players that come in, and you're like, "Yo, Future War Cult," and they're like, "What? Future what?
Right.
I don't."
Out to lunch.
Yeah,
we'll be back in.
Honestly,
September?
they're relevant. They are relevant again if you give them a loot pool and you let us pledge an allegiance to them, so that when I'm playing Crucible, I'm getting Future War Cult tokens. Even though the token system isn't ideal, at least I can pledge my allegiance to somebody and get random rolls from their loot pool.
That's basically how it was in D1, right? Like you went and you pledged to a faction, and then you did activities, and you got extra materials to use on those factions.
Yeah.
Basically, like everything you did could increase your reputation. It was basically leveling the faction up.
Yeah.
And then later on, they made it so you could choose a piece of armor or a weapon for every level up, right?
Yep.
You had a full set of gear basically every scene. You had like a ship, you had class item, you had shaders.
Shaders were a big chase.
Guns, armor, all that stuff. Like, I wish I could import some of that over for my D1 character because I love those pieces.
You can, but you got to buy it from Eververse.
Right. Stop. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in Eververse still. Man, we only talked about PvP this episode.
Hey, we didn't talk about.
We knew that was going to happen coming into the episode, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the puzzle at all that.
Oh, the puzzle. That's right.
I was curious about how you guys feel about heavy ammo too, because heavy ammo exists in the Crucible.
I like the change they made. What was it with Shadowkeep? So you had the group pick up again, and it doesn't spawn as often. All that's like, yeah, anything you can do to lessen heavy, I feel is a good decision. I don't like heavy in 3v3 at all. I don't like heavy in Rumble personally. It's just too strong. It just sort of snowballs, and I can understand its place in like a pure deathmatch to get people to move, in Clash. Somewhat, but I'm pretty anti.
Should they just yank it?
I kind of like the D1s. Remember the D1 system where it spawned 2 boxes 2 times a match?
Yeah, heavy ammo inbound.
Spawn location. And if you wanted to roll the dice and try and see if you could save your super for when that popped up and go attack the next one, you could. I kind of like that system.
I completely
because then it's like
system.
Everybody's got it. We all run to the mid map. We just clash with heavy ammo. It weeds itself out quick, and we're back to just playing.
Or I just Nova'd the entire enemy team and stole their ammo, and it was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I miss those days. Yeah. I don't know why they changed it from that. They nailed it on the head, and then they had to do this weird heavy ammo system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping when Trials comes back, I don't know, I kind of like the heavy round, but I liked when they added the ability to wave it off, though. Like, eventually we would just wave it off, but if you're newer, I don't know, there was something that gave you a
chaotic,
chance.
And it broke up the match in Trials. Like, you're really into it, and then heavy round, it was almost like a breather, because it was like,
yeah, exactly.
It was different,
because it was a
different feeling, not a breather. It was just a different feeling, and then you went back to like the normal.
Yeah,
and like you said, you could wave it off if you wanted to.
Yeah, once we got that was nice.
Was cool.
Yeah,
I agree.
So, puzzle. Do we have time to really dig into this puzzle? Puzzle talk.
I mean, if we don't talk about it now,
puzzle drama.
Up to you guys. Like, I know, time wise, it's.
So, the puzzle was cracked with a huge effort from the community, massive effort.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, ended up being like over 5,000 pieces to it.
Yeah,
just
I contributed in I didn't actually contribute.
Briar contributed eyeballs on a stream to see what was happening every now and then.
What are they up to now? Oh, look at that! I don't really understand what's going on.
You had to do run and get an emblem, which you could still get.
Yeah. Well, it was lore, emblem, and then it cracked a 30-piece code, which then unlocked the Bastion quest early. So the ultimate, the actual reward was getting the Bastion quest basically a week early at this point from what happened. But the drama that's going on, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is that essentially they nullified the work of the puzzle because they brought the quest up a week early, so you don't have to do any of the puzzle stuff. And a lot of people were saying they should have just made it. You had to do the puzzle, run through the maze in order to get it early, and otherwise just keep it where it was on the roadmap, right?
Yeah, this is the question, right? Is that by doing the puzzle, we unlocked the exotic. Cool. There's a discussion to be had on whether we think that was the right exotic, but let's just, for now, hey, we get our exotic reward. This just happened this weekend, and then Tuesday reset happens, and it's like, oh, but you can just go pick it up if you want. So if you didn't do it early this weekend when it just was solved, you can go pick it up. That is what people are like, wait, like we just had tons of people staying up 24 hours and making websites and compiling amazing data. Do we think that was too early? Or do we think they did the right thing, that it was lessening frustration of players? Like maybe Briar was like, I don't know what's happening, I just want to get this gun. But is it the right or wrong thing to have released it days after the puzzle was solved?
A day, right?
Was it just a day? God.
think it was
Yeah, it
A
was-
Day.
No, it had to
Just
happen
day
at
and a half.
reset, wasn't it?
Yeah. Wasn't it cracked on Monday night or Monday morning?
Monday. But it
It
wasn't
was
long.
during the night Sunday, yeah.
Day
at
or
some
two,
point.
either way, right? So do we think that was too soon? And how do you guys feel about it? Right? Come on, TV.
Okay, all right, I'll weigh in. I think this is another instance of the community said, we want transparency. And they said, cool, we'll put Bastion on the roadmap for the 28th. And then they shouldn't have. They absolutely should have just kept us 100% in the dark with Bastion. If you're going to have this cool puzzle mechanic, because here's what they said. They said the plan was. The plan was release the puzzle when they release it. And at the point at which it's solved, we unlock Bastion is unlocked. You can go through the maze, you can get the quest, and you can start working on it. The next reset after it's unlocked, we'll just drop the quest for players. If for some reason 2 weeks passes and the community isn't able to hack this puzzle, the 28th, we're just going to drop it. Now, the problem is they went and they said on the roadmap, Bastion quest drops on the 28th. So now people think Bastion's happening on the 28th. The puzzle drops and they're like, ooh, what's this? Can't be Bastion.
This
Bastion's
is something different.
Yeah, this is something different. We can't wait to find out what this is. And so it's that sense of exploration and discovery, and everyone rallied behind it, and they were excited about it. It was so cool. Thousands and thousands of viewers across multiple platforms checking this thing out, even if they weren't participating. And we get the thing we already knew was coming 2 weeks later. That's the problem. If Bastion was, I firmly believe, if Bastion was never on the roadmap and we were never told that it was gonna be dropped, regardless of whether this puzzle was solved,
No problem.
if we didn't know any of that, no problem.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, other than the weapon choice, maybe, which I think you'd still get feedback. But I totally agree. I don't know why it was on the roadmap. I actually couldn't believe for sure. Like when it was starting to happen, I was up. Actually, it's funny. I had just finished, some of those runs myself and was watching, and it popped, and then people were like, "It's Bastion. It's Bastion." And people were like, "No, like how?" And so I couldn't agree more. I don't know why it was on there. I feel like it was actually more for the people buying the season pass, and they had to make sure that they understood
That makes sense.
it's coming. But
I think they clarified that too. That was one of the reasons why it was on the roadmap, was because of the value proposition for the season pass.
Well, it's in the update. I don't know if they clearly say it, but flat out couldn't agree more. Totally a mistake. If it was a surprise, I think a lot of people were like, whoa, this is interesting. But to have already told me what it was like a month or more ago or whatever, I definitely was let down, Not that I don't enjoy getting the exotic reward, but I'm like, why did they do that? I can't fathom why they did it still, actually. Again, amazing puzzle, I think.
Yeah.
We don't
amazing
want to take away,
community
what
effort.
A cool, I love that they nailed everybody can participate if you want it, and something you could run alone too. It wasn't like, I think like Niobe, right? You needed help eventually to get in that room.
So
and shoot
is
stuff.
the core of the community disappointment then the fact that they were expecting a new reward from the puzzle that they didn't know about besides Bastion?
Yeah.
It
The
could have been
mystery
a
of the
shader,
reward.
and I think people would have been more like, oh, cool, like something at least. But because it was Bastion, an exotic weapon, people were like, oh.
Because there's a
I
lot of
already know
things
about
that
that.
I want to
I'm already gonna
specifically
get it.
Not have a problem with here. First of all, I want to not have a problem with the fact that that Bungie is talking to the community and putting out roadmaps. That is a good thing overall. And yes, occasionally it might bite them in the ass, but I actually think it's a good thing overall. It lets us know that things are coming. We've had huge expanses of time where we had no idea what Bungie was working on or if there was a new DLC coming out that year. The roadmap is good overall.
Yeah, of course, but don't put Whisper of the Worm on there.
Right.
Like that's what they effectively did.
Right. But
it's coming back, everybody. And I'm like, cool, I know. Oh, there's a
I've
secret
heard the
thing.
sentiment though that they just need to get rid of the roadmap and this stuff will go away.
No.
I don't think that's the
This has
play.
been
No.
amazing.
We need more roadmaps. We need a PvP roadmap.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nobody's arguing
putting
with
information out there. We were talking earlier about, people are looking at what Luke Smith said this summer or last summer. And, there's going to be heat if, for instance, Trials doesn't come out in March. That doesn't mean that Luke Smith shouldn't stop talking to me, right?
No,
it's
absolutely.
Right.
He was very clear when he was talking in that roadmap or in that, I can't remember what he called it, but he was very clear about saying that this is me just putting stuff out there. I'm not making promises here. And if you were to read promises into what he said, I feel like you misread it.
Sure. No, I don't think anybody feels that way. I don't feel like the roadmap's the issue in it of itself. It's that here's the issue, very simply. You showed me visually what I'm getting this season, this new exotic, and I was like, well, I'm going to get a quest for that. And then you secretly launched something that was going to have some secret reward.
Right.
At
The
end,
expectation was based upon the previous similar activities that we've had in the past that were things that we didn't know about. We didn't know what the reward was. And here it wound up being spoiled, and it was just something we got early, and not even a whole week early. It was just one day.
That's right.
There's two sides to it. I get it. You know, the puzzle is really cool, and I love those things being in the game, and I want more of them. But at the same time, it's like we don't want to know what it is, and we would rather have, when they do this, it to be something unique and something hidden, rather than
secret.
Yeah, the reward
working something
as well.
Yeah, secret puzzle equals secret reward, not secret puzzle equals, oh, you were getting this anyway.
They could just put yellow with a question mark. So it's like,
that's right. That's right.
Exotic.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep. I would have been fine. Well, even
then,
that though, to find out, you are right, it would have helped. But to find out that you were going to get this anyway, I think that is still something I'm struggling with. Like, they shouldn't have ever said we're going to get it anyway.
They want the unlock to be based upon completing the task, completing the puzzle, not to be something that was essentially happening regardless.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. In other words, it's not a bad point, but I disagree. Like, I'd rather not even have it on the map, and it looks like it's a little thin this season than I would have. Like, I already know it's coming. It just spoils
but Bungie's also going to sell, make money.
Well, I don't think. I know. I understand, but I don't think Bastion was like selling any passes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they put Doctrine of Passing exotic, something on there.
Icebreaker.
We were looking forward to another exotic, but anyway, does anyone disagree and think it was fine?
No, I agree, because I had the same feeling. I was like, Bastion? What? Like,
right.
I do think it was fine, to be honest. Like, I didn't get upset about it. Like, in a perfect world, it would have been better if it was a unique reward. But in my opinion, there's bigger issues with the game than,
Sure.
Oh, we knew the reward for this amazing puzzle that Bungie gave us that wasn't on the roadmap was on the roadmap. That, to me, that's probably not. I wouldn't have made that play if I were them, but I'm not going to get upset about it either. Like, not worth it.
I mean,
I think
it's fair.
Early.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the reward didn't hit. It's like, okay,
for sure.
Well, there's that. The puzzle was really cool, and then the reward was like, interesting. Yeah. If you get hit with the interesting on the reward, then it's kind of like, well, maybe. Yeah. Some people really like the gun. Others, it's like it's a weird shotgun.
I guess it is emblematic over the lack of loot in the game right now.
Yeah. It's also weird that they bumped the quest or the quest that unlocks for everyone up a week because the puzzle was solved. It's a little strange. Like, why didn't they just keep it for a whole week where you had to run through the maze with the right sequence until the 28th?
Yep.
It really wasn't even that big. Like, I soloed that part just because I wanted to get the quest and get cranking on it. Monday morning after it had been solved, I just grabbed a quick
not that hard
photo off of Twitter and I loaded it up by myself and just ran through. It's not complicated. It's not hard. You just have to go through the right door. It's 10 minutes of your time. So I don't really see the value in taking that out. I think that actually cheapens the value of the exotic to remove it.
Well, for a lot of people, that was some of the drama about the puzzle, or the puzzle drama is that, like, all that work of solving the puzzle and then literally like a 20 or 30 hours later, it's like, it's irrelevant. You don't have to refer to any of those.
I interpreted that the people who were unlocking the puzzle were doing a good deed for the rest of the people who play the game.
Yeah. And they did. That's the narrative, right? They unlocked it for everybody a week early. And it's true. I believe this, actually. It wasn't smoke and mirrors. I don't think Bungie ever intentionally was. I mean, I think they sort of knew they probably would unlock it on Tuesday. But, like, if we didn't get it and it was close, it would have been waiting, the full week probably as the plan. So they intended it to be the reward. But that, again, is my issue. Secret puzzle equaled unlocking quest we were already getting early. That seems to be the reward for this really amazing puzzle. And it had such a build-up, too, with, like, going through the corridors of time and seeing, like, a grave and our grave or whatever, right? I don't want to I don't know if we're spoiling exactly. So, and then you hear the dialogue lines too, and you kind of, I was actually watching, people live, like I was watching Glad, and he's like, oh my God, like exotic, let's go, and then, wait, what? It's like record scratch, like Curb Your Enthusiasm music almost.
If you don't finish that by the 28th, I believe the quarters of time close, and then you can't actually get that dialogue.
You can't, I assume you can't get the dialogue or the 19 pieces of lore or that emblem.
Yeah, so if you want that and you listen to this Monday night, you better get cracking.
Get on it.
Move, yeah. Get my quick advice, by the way, is look up the emblem code and get the emblem. It's one of the easiest. It's like 11 rooms or something, but it's something you can get right away. There's no quest.
It's cool too. It's unique to Destiny.
You go to Osiris, you start the quarters of time stuff, which is available right now, and you run in and go through and do the code, and you're done. Then there's 19 pieces of lore. If you want to do that, it's going to take you a while if you're a lore person. I did it because I thought I was helping and thought it was part of the puzzle and have great regrets. But hopefully I can use
great regrets over that.
Yeah.
Add those to the pile, right?
Yeah. But the last thing I will bring up that is definitely I don't understand what's going on with Destiny quest design. And I guess part of it is it's not that like I'll just put it simply, like, why do we have to do all of the Saint 14 stuff to get this quest done? It's confusing the crap out of people. So when you go, right, and pick this up, so let's say you run through, it allows you to run through the quarters of time, get these ending lines, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get this weapon. And you go to like Saint 14 and like nothing pops. And
right, because you
never actually saved him yourself, but he's in the tower.
That makes sense. Doesn't that make sense?
It may, but it doesn't from a quest
side. It doesn't tell you, yeah.
It should have never allowed me to run through 30 freaking rooms to even get there if I had to do the
should have been on Reddit, man.
Yeah, no, I don't love to read Reddit for a quest design, So again, like I don't want to take away from the puzzle, but I know that the frustration is out there. A lot of people that night, I actually watched Glad went through it. He was just on a different character than the one that did it. It was very confusing. They also had a bug where like the first time you talked to him, the thing didn't pop and you had to check again. And you build to this huge moment and it was like, oh my God, we did it, and then like, there was nothing at Saint 14 for like quite a few people. And you can imagine the feeling. And then
nothing showed up for me, and then I grabbed a bounty, and then it popped up.
Yeah,
weird, right?
The solve for some people, but
but
I definitely don't think they should have made you either do the entire thing, in terms of saving Saint 14, or they should have at least warned you, like, hey, you're on step 3, by the way. Like,
there should have been like some text in there. Yeah.
Well, in a way, this is like a sidestep of that, right?
Yeah.
In a way, this was like a sidestep to that actual quest of getting Bastion. So.
Yeah, it felt that way. That's why I was like, I don't know that it needs to be part of like saving Saint 14. I kind of get it because the dialogue he's talking about, like, you saved me and some other stuff. But
this is still an extension of killing that guy from the forest, the Infinite Forest, right? Not the Infinite Forest, the
from
big
the corners
Vex head guy, the Undying Mind.
Yeah. I know it is exactly. I believe I'm not the sharpest when it comes to the lore, but all of it plays together, right? We figured out a little more how to navigate through time. We got Saint, and then I don't know if we want to spoil the narrative or not, so I've been avoiding saying it. But check it out. It's actually really interesting. It suggests something weird for us as Guardians, and also for meaning of what Bastion is. You can look it up.
Yeah, it predicts trials coming back too. Crazy.
It gave the date. I couldn't believe it. That's what the numbers were.
Yeah.
It was right there. But again, props for Bungie on the positive side, a quest that everybody could partake in. Being able to just like go snap a screenshot and, send it out and help, or enter it, something simple in a spreadsheet.
I will
crazy.
I will say one thing to, I guess, the community participation aspect that they were going for with this. I feel like it would have been even better if they had some kind of website or something set up for people to be able to go and enter in these codes and this information, and then it would start to piece together in a more natural way, instead of people having to make their own websites, having to do their own spreadsheets. I think that would have been streamlined a little bit more for the average person to be like, hey, I want to get in this and add my 0.04% to the puzzle.
I agree with that. That'd be cool, where they you know, it is amazing that the community was willing to make it and did it.
Of course, of course.
Community's ravenous. They want it all immediately.
Yeah.
Right?
But
I'm sort of on the fence with that. I think it was kind of cool, honestly, for different people in the community to have their role. Like, hey, I'm not too good at doing stuff like this, but I'm really good at coding. I can whip up something real quick that's you can put info into and start building a map. And people were able to have ownership. I think this is the coolest takeaway for me, is that moving forward, there are some people in this community now, a small number of people, who when they see Bastion in Destiny 2, whether it's in somebody else's hands or in theirs, they can literally say, I built the website, or I did this, I did that. I was part of Redeem's clan. I gathered 50 screenshots. Yeah. They have ownership in the fact that that thing exists in Destiny 2, and that's so cool to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I keep wondering what they're.
I will say though.
Oh, go ahead.
I will say I think in the future for something of a puzzle, I would like it more actually in the game for the actual solve, or not. That's the wrong term, for the actual piecing it together, because the fact that it did require scripting and over 5,000 pieces to put together is it's a double-edged sword on there. Really cool to see all the stuff. I don't want them to
dumb it down. I don't want it to be something easy or anything like that. I just feel like if it was integrated a little bit more into Bungie's game or the website or something, I feel like it would get more people involved. And
because I don't like, would it even technically be possible to piece something like that together without engineering tools to make those automate for those 5,000 pieces?
In a spreadsheet. You could do it in a spreadsheet, I think, because it was really just looking for. Oh no, wait, but the path. That's a good point. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you have photoshopped entirely? That is the question, I guess. I don't know. That's the piece.
With enough time, I'm sure it's possible.
With enough time, but
I think Bungie's gotten to the point where they never underestimate us anymore.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. So again, the fact that it increased maybe is a better way to put it, the amount of people that could be involved. But I had the same feeling. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to participate because I already did 19 friggin' pieces of lore. I tell you what, I'll run. But I was going to say, I went to send the screenshots to like the Discord for raid secrets. And I was like, am I doing this right? There's no like marker that like my stuff got checked or not. So I kind of feel like I participated, but I'm not sure. And I'm with you that I would have loved that concept of imagine something with perfect world. Once we figured it out, it unlocked, go back to a special sundial and you input the code that you got unique to you, right? And put it in and you see, the thing light up and be like, cool. Like I'm piece number 3,787. Awesome. Would be unreal to do it that way.
Just one more final aspect about this, of the flip side, the double-edged sword, is that I feel like the majority of the player base had absolutely no clue what the hell was happening with that quest.
Yeah,
and
no clue.
And even though there was a large amount of people in the thousands that came together to make the puzzle happen, there was like way more, like 10 times more, that had absolutely no idea what was happening. And
I assume 95% of the community still is like, some know about it, but very few really understand it.
Let's say there's 1 million players a day, like maybe 50,000 contributed or were working, that might be estimating high as well, but I don't know.
There you go though, right? That's the point. It can't be a ton. So yeah, I agree. It confused people, and even a website like Triple said would have been cool, but
I'm okay
for
with
next time. They're making progress.
Not all activities needs to be for all players, though. Sometimes
I agree with
absolutely.
you.
Totally, yeah.
For the super high end.
But what if you want to? So I know what you're saying, and I agree that. But if you want, let's say you wanted to participate, Brian, you're like, no, I'll hop on, right? Like it was very hard to know where to start. I think a little more. You don't have to solve it for everybody,
But to be fair, that was my position. Is I saw all this hype going on. I'm a PvP guy, and I saw all this hype going down, this puzzle being built, and I was just so interested in it that I just kept refreshing my Twitter to see where people were at. And then eventually I was like, I'm getting the itch to participate. And there was so much information out there. I was 2 clicks away from watching a T-Rex video where he walks you through. He's like, hey, this is what's happening. This is how you get involved. I watched one video. I grabbed 2 friends. I jumped in Sunday night when they were on the sort of home stretch. And we went in for a couple of hours just grabbing screenshots and training characters and making our contribution. It was not hard at all. Once I made the decision I want to be involved, I was 2 clicks away from knowing what to do and getting in there with my friends.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think it's more about making that barrier of entry a little bit easier. So for people who aren't plugged into Twitter and Twitch and YouTube, not having to rely exclusively on the externality world of the game to be able, hey, there's something going on in the game, I can jump in and maybe get involved in some capacity. I think that's more of like what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And to play devil's advocate,
just because it's such a cool, unique thing whenever these events happen, and as many people as you can get to experience that, I think should be the goal.
And to play devil's advocate a bit, and also to piggyback off of what Briar was saying, we've had lots of events that were very approachable for people. Destiny has so much stuff in it that is so casual, focused, very approachable, very easy to do and get involved with. I think it's okay that for one time, like they've never really done anything that exclusive before, but for one time in the history of Destiny across 1 and 2, there was an event that sort of capitalizes on the fact that gaming is evolving. It's not all about firing up your console and just being invested in that world, but there's the whole social dynamic, there's the community dynamic, and I think it's okay for gaming to evolve and for people to capitalize on that evolution, for developers to capitalize on that evolution, and allow the community that's really invested to have something that's catered exclusively to them. I think that's kind of cool. I'm not saying that every event should be like that. Absolutely not. Is it okay that this one was like that? I think absolutely. I love the way this shook down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I hope.
I just want to say, I would love to actually meet someone who has no idea about the community in the game, who is a passionate player but doesn't get interface with like Twitter and Twitch and all that, and then explain what happened last week, and then have them be like, "I don't believe you."
Yeah. I listened to a podcast. It's called Reconcilable Differences, and it's got 2 guys on it, and one of the guys is a huge Destiny fan. He actually references TrueVanguard all the time. He's a big fan of TrueVanguards.
Oh, cool.
And he was trying to explain Destiny as a whole to his podcast host who doesn't play video games at all, and it was hilarious.
It's great.
And this dude's smart. He used to write like full like 20-page OS 10 review articles for Mac World magazine. He wasn't like a dumb guy.
Yeah, it's just very convoluted if you haven't been following it along.
It's not simple.
But yeah, all I was trying to say before was just that, yeah, I think all of us pretty much were impressed. I think the whole community was, right? And this is all constructive criticism. I just wanted to be clear on that. Like, for all the fans that loved it and everyone who did the hard work, like, I think it's just, of course, we always want to see the next best version because we were happy with it overall, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Shall we do some questions? Twitter questions?
I think not. Maybe do a few, but we're kind of running out of time here. So how about I do 3 of them, and then I'll keep the rest of them for next week, and we'll just have a lot of Twitter questions next week.
There you go.
We have a lot to talk about this week. And I'm just gonna skip to the silly stuff anyway.
I mean, you're the question guy, Brian. You can do whatever you want.
I'm doing it. Zachary Rickon says, hello, everybody. What's everyone's favorite smell?
I like cinnamon and almonds. Anything that's cinnamon or almond, I really dig.
It'd be really easy for your wife to poison you.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for arsenic. I'm a real sucker for arsenic.
Anybody else's favorite smell?
Yeah, my mind went to like food, but I'm actually going to say like an incense with some sandalwood in it. Sandalwood is just a really good one.
That's weird.
Yeah. Is it? Sandalwood?
Wait, what's wrong with you?
Why is sandalwood odd? That's not strange at all.
It's a weird smell. I can't even tell you what sandalwood smells like.
Oh, it's really good. People will back me up.
Like fresh cut grass, like the first time you smell fresh cut grass in the spring. If you're in a state that has winter, like with snow and stuff.
Yes.
Spring is an amazing time of year where, life sprouts from death. And also
smell the chlorophyll.
That first fresh cut of grass just smells amazing.
That's weird.
It's the promise of things to come for the rest of the summer.
I've always liked the smell of the rain, or like a fresh rain hitting the concrete, but it's a hot day, or a warmish day.
I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really
That's
nice smell.
a good one. That's good summertime smell.
That is.
Yeah,
That was a good
Hmm.
one.
Triple.
I don't know. I'm basic. I like the smell of like fresh baked cookies.
That's great.
That's a good smell.
Like that's like a memory I have from my childhood, and that's just like, yep, smell that. It's like I don't know if I'm outside, I'm inside, anywhere. I'm hungry. Come and get those cookies. God, I want some cookies now.
Now I want some
All right.
cookies.
I know. Right? I know. People
Sure.
in chat were like bacon and campfire, and like I'm like, oh man, like I'm just hungry now.
Campfire's a good one too. Hugo Rune says, would you rather have the ability to shoot bees out of your eyes or have a pair of shoes that never need cleaning or repairing?
I mean,
Where
the
does it
shoes
go,
sound.
Well, I mean, in terms
Very.
of usefulness, that's pretty.
I
Yeah,
can't really think of a useful.
you got
way of
like diamond level shoes that never break. I mean,
Yeah.
So they
This
never
is
wear
an
out, never
obvious-
need cleaning.
This is an obvious bee eyes. It's
Yeah.
obvious.
Why bee eyes?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with bee eyes?
Well, okay, all right. Let me ask you this: You're getting
imagine.
mugged. You're getting
what
mugged
are
in
you,
an
what are you
alley,
not gonna do?
and
I
you're
mean,
like,
right?
no, don't stab me. I've got impenetrable shoes. They're gonna be like, kill this idiot.
Yeah, or you could use your.
Or you
your
could be
bee eyes,
like
you shoot
bee
a
eyes
bee
on
out,
the trucker. You know, what
and
I'm
they
saying?
just fly away and go get some honey. You never see them again.
About how often are you about
Or
to
they
get
sting
stabbed?
you.
I'm assuming this is a pretty directed bee shot.
Yeah, we're not even talking bee velocity yet. And I'm with TV on it. Like I'm assuming like laser bees.
Really?
Like it's just for a while they like come out
Yeah.
like lasers, like
Like
just
bullets?
perfectly uniform, and
That's what
then
I'm saying.
they
Yeah.
hit stuff and just disperse.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this like a weapon or like a nuisance? Is this like something you
It almost
annoy
sounds like a
someone?
nuisance to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
think the
you are
bees.
single-handedly saving the bees, which all the bees are dying.
I was
We know
gonna say.
this.
was gonna
I was
say,
just
yeah.
gonna go there too.
Yeah, you're
One
gonna
of
help
these
with
things is really
repollinating
selfish.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The other selfish.
people will give you big money to come and shoot bees at their flowers.
Yeah, you can monetize one of these things.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think we're
I mean,
all on the
nobody's
bee.
gonna give a shit if you got everlasting shoes. I've had shoes since I was in high school. You know who cares? Nobody. Nobody
That's
fucking
right.
cares.
Exactly. We're all on the bee train. Bees.
You turned me around on that one, T-Von. Dreadnought says, "What's the worst thing you could put inside a pinata?"
A sock.
Bees.
Yeah.
Bees.
Oh wait, a pinata. I for some reason I thought you said a pita. I thought of like pita bread at first.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
a sock and a pita bread?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's awful.
The bees is a pretty good answer.
Yeah, pizza is actually pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, beehive 100% in a pinata. That's really gonna get us shooken up.
A baby, that's a bad thing to put in there.
Yeah, jeez, definitely.
Bees, though, that takes the cake.
It's perfect
imagine.
segue, dude.
There's no more answers. Yeah.
A shark?
Yeah.
Worst
Shark.
thing to
0% a shark.
But I feel like you there's a shark in there to begin with.
No,
It'd
no.
be a
It
huge
defies the laws
pinata.
of physics. Defies the laws of
Is
physics.
it a tiny shark? Is what you're saying?
No, it like jumbos as soon as it pops, and then all of a sudden it's like great white, you know?
Oh, it like warps in from like.
Yeah, because this is a
Here's
fantasy
to
question.
The world rules of Sharknado.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a Sharknado shark. You spawned the first Sharknado by cracking that pinata. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a party.
All right, guys, let's wrap this one up.
Worst thing to put in a pinata is vegetables,
That is.
like
That is-
broccoli or
cooked?
something.
Oh,
That's
It
not
doesn't
horrific.
matter.
It's
It
just
doesn't matter.
disappointing.
You're probably a kid, and you're gonna be so angry. It's like getting coal
Brussels
in your
sprouts.
stocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worse. I'd say worse.
Definitely.
That's a good
worse.
point because that's a realistic answer, but I'd be so disappointed
I
to
just
get
feel
like some bok
what?
choy. You know, I'm like,
bok choy.
man, that sucks.
Here's your ginger, kid. Enjoy
Yeah,
your
that is a
turmeric
huge
root.
letdown.
If it was filled with Necco
your
wafers,
radishes.
like, what's the most disappointing candy? Like Necco
Necco
wafers.
wafers is up there.
That's pretty bad.
Necco wafers were.
I'm unfamiliar with the wafers.
Necco wafers.
Consider yourself lucky. You've lived a
Oh
life.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want those. There's those hard sugar discs that are colored. They're almost like Smarties, but the big ones.
Sweet and low. I think they use artificial sugar because it doesn't taste good.
You know Smarties, right, Tef? The tiny ones.
Yeah, of course.
Tiny.
Ones
they're
that
like
taste good.
These are the big.
I like those.
Alka-Seltzer tablet-esque. They're terrible. Yeah, they're almost like cement.
I feel like
It's
people
if you took everything good out of a Smartie and then made it huge.
You're like, purple, cool, gonna be strawberry. No, it's licorice. Green, what's it gonna be lime? Nah, it's licorice too.
It's all licorice.
Wow, it's awful. I feel like candy corn would be in there for a lot of people of like disappointment.
Yeah.
Candy corn is way more enjoyable than Necco wafers, and I'm not a candy corn liker.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
It sucks, but it doesn't suck that bad.
It's a suck, but it's more of a neutral suck, you know?
It comes in wax paper, for Christ's sake.
Good point.
All right. So that's the questions? Is that the show?
That's it. Yep. That's
All
the
right.
show.
Well, GG's. Good show, guys. Thanks for coming on. Triple T-Von. Appreciate it, guys.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Triple, where can people find you?
Well, occasionally I'll be live on Twitch and at twitch.tv/tripleWRECK. I do tweet sometimes. You know, at this point, I'm doing my best. All right. There's no schedule. Sometimes I don't tweet for a week. Sometimes I tweet 10 times in one day. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes there's good content. You never know. So it's variety. It's spontaneity. But yeah, I'm on Twitter as well. Same thing. Instagram, Discord, all that.
Awesome. TV?
Primarily, you can find me on YouTube, TrueVanguard, or on Facebook Gaming, fb.gg/TheTrueVanguard. Otherwise, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram as well, The TrueVanguard.
Nice.
Do you ever pull out that old T-Von Twitter?
Every now and then I
Take it
pop
for a
on that
shake.
and troll somebody.
Nice.
I'm like, I want to say something really inappropriate. Better sign into the other account.
Well done. Well done.
I like it.
Loosely affiliated burner account.
Yeah, that's right.
Briar?
I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me on Twitter. Just look for the Briar Rabbit. And that's it.
And I'm Fran Mirabella on Twitter. I'm going to put my Twitter this week. So yeah, just my real name, Fran Mirabella.
Awesome. And I'm Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter and catch my streams, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate all the support across the board here on DCP, whether you're watching live or on the podcast, audio, download, distribution places. And if you're a Twitch sub or a Patreon, we appreciate all the support across the board. So thank you, guys. We'll see you next week for another show. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Boy.
Later.
Boy.